character from Alien.
Oh.
It's like at the Neo Blomkamp thing. Oh,
I don't know what you're looking at.
You can't.
Anyway, welcome everyone to episode 80
Oh,
of the
wait.
Looks Like a Movie podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm here with Doug and Owen, and today we are talking about Alien, Romulus, as well as just the entire Alien franchise. But first, as always, we're going to talk about what we watched this week, and I could get us started because
You
I've
scared
been
me. I
absent.
didn't know we were recording.
I'm sorry.
I'm not ready for this.
I'm sorry to you, and I'm sorry to our guests. Not our guests,
Whoa.
our listeners. Why did I call them guests? So
But
My
no, they're
head
like
is
our
scrambled.
guests in our church, you know? Like
yes, in the church it looks like a movie.
The
What I
church
meant
looks
was
like a
that
movie.
I just got a flood warning.
Oh
What I
my
meant
god,
was
this is so
that
chaotic.
I was
Flood of
gone.
the
I was
church.
gone last pod
Yeah.
because my lovely sister got married and I could not attend our recording. So I apologize to them, and it means I have a big fat diary of things that I watched. It's actually not that big and fat. I saw Kneecap, which we're not talking about on the podcast, but is actually like kind of a lovely, awesome movie, and I look forward to rewatching it. It's like just a total blast. If it's playing near you still for anybody listening, which is probably unlikely because it's not a very big movie.
I think it's already out of theaters.
Yeah, but that means it'll be available to you soon, no matter where you are. So check it out. It's definitely one of the most fun movies that's come out this year. It's really funny. It's a good time.
Alien actor Michael Fassbender
is in it. Yes, correct.
Well,
That's
connection
correct.
to the future events that will be unfolding.
He is in the movie. I'm doing a lot of watching other than my Alien binge. Most of my watches have been high school movies in preparation for our movie draft I will be participating in
On the Movie Draft podcast?
On our friends over at the Movie Draft podcast, our good pals participating in another movie draft.
In some ways,
we're doing high school movies.
Our sister podcast with how much you're over there.
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time there. It's gonna be my third appearance, I think. So maybe third time's the charm kind of thing. I finally win one, but we'll see. Anyway, high school movies. I watched The Last Picture Show from 1971. Also, I believe the first Peter Bogdanovich movie I've seen. I don't think I've watched one before. So good start. Good movie. Really liked it. I watched American Graffiti, which I also have not seen before.
Who directed that one?
Who directed American Graffiti?
Yeah. I don't know if
Mr. Lucas.
He's the guy.
Is that guy
kid,
famous?
You know?
No, I don't think anybody knows who he is. It's kind of a one-hit wonder situation with American Graffiti, I think.
No, he made THX.
This is true. Yeah. Was that a hit?
That was his second hit.
American Graffiti is fun. It's like silly. A lot of the stuff that I don't know. It's just like a really funny movie. The way they act and talk in that movie it's a good time. Something about those old high school movies is just a kind of a blast. Newer high school movie, Edge of 17, I rewatched, which I liked when it came out, and I watched it a bunch in high school, and now I rewatched it, and I was like, oh, this shit still kind of rocks. Kelly Freeman Craig, kind of the goat. You guys liked
we're looking
movie,
out
right?
for her, right? We're looking out for her.
Yeah, we are looking out for her. I don't think Owen watched. You didn't watch that other movie she made, right? But Doug saw it, didn't you?
What is her? Is it Margaret?
Yes. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Oh, yeah. I did see that. That was good. That was a good movie.
I was thinking about that movie when watching Alien Romulus.
That's an interesting thought. We can get back to that, I think. Anyway, lovely
I don't
director,
remember why.
lovely movie. I watched Rebel Without a Cause, rewatched Rebel Without a Cause, kind of one of my favorite movies ever.
I need to rewatch
probably, that. Yeah, it's just kind of the best. And James Dean is kind of unbelievable. And then the other day, I just watched Four Weddings and a Funeral, little rom-com action. I will say, what's
Alien
her name?
rom-com.
Sure.
Ulysses.
Andy McDowell, kind of one of the worst performances I've seen in a movie in that one. That's just pretty tough. It's like this close to being one of the great rom-coms if you just replace Andy McDowell with like anybody else. Like she's just like awful. And it's a real waste of Hugh Grant's talents as a rom-com lead because she's opposite him, and kind of kind of a fail, but fun.
Kind of a
nonetheless.
fail.
Yeah, and then the rest of my stuff is just watching Alien stuff in preparation for the podcast that we're recording. Douglas, you want to take it away?
Yes. New release that we are not covering because of its limited release here in the States. Twilight of the Warriors Walden, directed by Soi Chiang. Came out this year. It is sensational. I just did a visual bit on our audio podcast. It is sensational.
Yeah. What's the country of origin?
It is a Hong Kong film. It's like a real life setting of the walled city of Hong Kong, which are basically like the slums, but it's like, what if the slums were a bunch of skyscrapers like smushed together?
Oh, okay. I see the vision.
And then it got torn down. This was in the 80s when Hong Kong, I think, was still governed by the United Kingdom. But it's kind of if you're interested in kung fu films or Hong Kong films, you already have this on your radar probably. Because like Soi Chiang's a pretty big name. He directed some other significant movies, and it has a kind of an all-time cast like Sammo Hung and Tony Wu and
I'm already laughing, and Doug's gonna try to pronounce names now.
Anyways, it is very good, very incredible film.
Yeah.
So
and it just how limited was the theatrical release?
Very limited.
Like, is this like, oh, okay.
I watched it. Well, I don't know.
You had to go far to watch it?
I had to go far as, and I had to sit in front of my computer to watch it.
And that's the farthest he's gone all week.
Yeah, maybe somebody might have been nice and uploaded a Blu-ray, the Blu-ray of this film. And then I watched every single Alien movie.
That's important for what we're about to talk about.
I watched, actually. Except for the 2 AVP films, which I have not seen.
Right, which we are not covering on the pod for reference for the people listening. That's not part of our little Alien breakdown.
Those are their own different, sick, twisted, fucked up. Yeah, they're not canon, their own thing. I will reference them at some point. But that's all I did because there's a lot of Alien movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of Alien movies. Owen, did you watch anything besides Alien movies?
No? Yeah. So in 1965, Roman Polanski directed.
That guy.
I directed Repulsion, which is kind of incredible, and that's it pretty much.
Yeah,
I watched all the Alien movies.
Yeah. I have my little 2-week window of time, so I got a little extra stuff to squeeze in there.
Good amount of Alien movies,
which means we can talk about
and
them.
they're all good.
Yeah, you can't.
Yo, you're fucking up the segue.
There. You gotta.
You're fucking up the segue.
No, I want to talk about Bone Chiller's Art Imitates Life.
Okay.
So this is it's on Letterboxd, but it's kind of just a TV episode. It's like a Goosebumps episode, from 1997, directed by Adam Rifkin, and it's like Death Note, but instead of people dying, whatever you doodle comes to life. It's like if you
Scribble Knots. It's like Scribble Knots.
It's like Scribble Knots. So they're like drawing these monsters in their sketchbook, and then these monsters are like fucking causing havoc. And it's a little jolly thing. There's like a bunch of these like random. It's like a little like anthology show with like little like horror Goosebump things. So I watched that, and that was fun.
So it's not Goosebumps. It's just
no, but it's like a horror kids anthology.
Yes.
So it's not Goosebumps, but it's
okay. Now to
go
back to our ruined transition. What I was saying is that we're going to talk about all the Alien movies in release order, and of course we'll spend the most time on Romulus because it's the new release. But we'll say what we have to say about all the Alien movies. And Doug has plenty of background for us, plenty of insightful information, I hope.
Yeah, Doug's our synthetic of the day.
See what Doug said. Doug preempted this podcast by saying that he was going to do lots of research. Whether he did or not, we're going to find out live on recording.
I did so much research that I'm like, I'm sick of Alien a little bit. I need a.
Which is crazy. in the midst of Doug's binge, I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet that said Alien was the best Hollywood franchise now, or something along those lines. Maybe most
I
consistent
don't
was the
think his
wording.
ratings
I
agree
don't
with that
know.
statement.
It might have
It's
been most consistent, is what he said.
I think I said
Besides Mission Impossible, I'm
besides
pretty
Mission
sure is what he
Impossible
said.
was like a
Yes.
important part of that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, still second place. That's not nothing.
That's
Anyway,
silver medal.
we're gonna start. We're gonna start with I guess the most praised one, the first one,
Alien from
Alien from
1979.
1979. Doug, would you like to
Yeah,
hit
Doug,
us
tell
with
us what
your
about
Okay,
Alien.
hit us with your research? Would you like to tell us about Alien?
This is fucked up. But yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about Alien. So
I mean, it's fucked up. This is a podcast about Alien.
this is no the way that you're framing this, where
I
you're
thought
like,
he got
hey,
blindsided that we're talking
tell
about
us about
Alien
Alien.
on the Alien
No,
podcast.
Listen, I don't know the details about the Alien production. This
I've
is your
never
job.
seen
it's
it.
kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Dan O'Brien is a writer. He wrote Dark Star with John Carpenter, which was
Yes.
like a sci-fi comedy. I haven't. Have you seen it, Owen? I have
No.
not seen it either.
But I would say when I was like, oh, this is I knew of Dark Star obviously, but like when watching the sequel, it's like John Carpenter is kind of like one of those perfect guys that would have been like a plug and play for one of these Alien
Yes.
sequels, which makes sense, obviously with the Dark Star thing. And then I was like, oh, that's probably why it never happened. But he would have been kind of perfect for one of these.
Yeah, so he worked on Dark Star with John Carpenter, but he got this idea, oh, this is kind of like creepy. What if there was something like Dark Star, but it was a horror movie? So like the inverse, instead of comedy in space, it's a horror movie in space. So then he kind of starts thinking about that, right? And he like starts like coming up with ideas for it. Hodorowski gets in contact with Dan O'Brien and he's like, hey, do you want to come work on Dune? And he flies him out to Paris and they're talking about it. And Dan O'Brien in interviews was kind of talking about, he was like, this is a mess. But there in Paris, Dan O'Brien met H.R. Giger, who is
Big component here.
yes. And he saw H.R. Giger's art and he was like, oh, this is it. Like this is it. This is like that was like the whole inspiration for the whole thing. That kind of like spurred off like this big like creative thing, and he wrote Alien. There's like some more steps there, whatever. But the simple part is he then after he met Geiger, he was working on this idea. Then he wrote Alien. He was going to sell the script to Roger Corman, and Alien was going to be
Roger.
a Roger Corman B movie. And it was kind of written to be a Roger Corman B movie. But then Star Wars comes out.
Boom.
And 20th Century Fox is like, we want to make Star Wars. So then they pick up the Alien scripts, which huge, awesome. And then they bring in H.R. Giger and Ron Cobb to do official designs for the film. And then Ridley Scott gets brought up after them, which is interesting because Ridley Scott in interviews kind of talks about how he found H.R. Giger first, or that's like how he kind of, but anyways, and
but Ridley wasn't like the first guy they wanted.
But yeah, but no, they brought on Ridley Scott, and he, Ridley Scott was a super hands-on guy. This is after The Duelist. This is his second film. Alien is such a collaborative piece because Ridley Scott is there, and he didn't come up with any of like the narrative ideas, or really he wasn't there like designing a lot of it either. He was there and he had like really strong opinions about like how the characters should be acting and how like the set should be lit. And like, Giger was there on set, like painting like the sets himself, and it's all very cool. And there's like obviously the really famous story about the chestburster scene where he didn't want any of the crew to know what was going on, or like how this was going to happen and what it was going to look like. And that's probably the most famous story from the production of Alien. But yeah, that's cool. That's Alien, 1979, Ridley Scott. I'm gonna say it, guys. It's a good movie.
I'm gonna agree. I don't want to specify. We are at the end, I guess, kind of gonna do our own little ranking. So I don't want to like at any point hint where it falls, but kind of love this one. Kind of great. Although I will say this is the only one that I didn't, when they did like a re-release of this movie in theaters like a few months ago or whenever it was. I don't know how long it's been since then, but it was like a few months back, I guess, for some anniversary or something. And I saw it, and in my head when I went to watch it, I was like, this is perfect because Romulus comes out this summer. I could rewatch this in theaters and like start my little binge. And then I saw it, and then I realized how long of a time it actually was between them releasing it in theaters and Romulus coming out.
Yeah.
So I watched this one and then I waited like whatever 3 or 4 months and then like watched Aliens like 2 weeks before Romulus comes out. I thought it was much closer, but it was not. So this is like the most distant one for me. But it's also the only one I've seen in theaters and the only one that I've seen multiple times.
We've seen
So
Alien
like that
Romulus in
connection.
theaters.
Right. Well, I forgot about that because that's the new one.
Did you
But,
guys grow up with Alien? Did you watch it as a kid?
Not really. I don't think I watched it
No.
until high school, perhaps.
Okay,
I
interesting.
didn't watch it till like last year.
I guess that kind of is growing up. I don't know. Like stuff I watched in high school, I still consider like I grew up on.
Interesting.
know.
I saw the first Alien when I was pretty young, and I for sure saw Aliens a lot when I was pretty young too.
Well, it's funny you mention it. The only Alien movies I watched as like a little kid were Alien vs Predator,
Right.
because that shit was on my TV all the time, and my dad was like always putting it on. So like those ones I would see, and I never saw the Predator movies. So my relationship to both of those, like both the Alien and the Predator, was seeing them in
Right.
Alien vs Predator.
Yeah.
And I used to think they were the coolest fucking thing when I was like 9.
Yeah, that movie fucking rocks. Alien vs Predator is a cable TV classic. It won triple platinum on TNT. And the same because I watched Alien vs Predator a lot as a kid because it was PG-13, which helped with seeking out and finding it as a little kid.
The availability.
Yeah, the availability of it. But no, Alien, I don't know. It's a really great movie. I think a lot when people talk about it now, a lot of people focus on the H.R. Giger of it all because a lot of the most interesting look of the film just comes like straight from his designs. But
yeah,
this is like an all-star cast kind of.
Yeah, the cast is really one of the things I love.
Hard. I mean, it all like obviously the narrative and the kind of it being what it is when it came out. But one of the things that I keep going and go to the other ones, I'm like just like stacking up to Alien, like no cast stacks up to this cast in terms of like just like not even like pure like name level or talent level, just the way that everyone works just in this movie is kind of perfect. It's
I want to
really
talk about
crazy.
it more when we get to Romulus, but one of the things that I like about this one compared to something like Romulus is that like in Romulus, and this is actually kind of true for all of the movies that follow this one as well, besides Romulus, I feel like, but Alien definitely does it the best, is like in Romulus, they do a lot of like explaining their characters where it's like that's the pregnant girl and like this guy's a bully and we see him bullying and stuff, and when you watch Alien it's just kind of like Harry Dean Stanton's got cool outfits and that's Harry Dean Stanton and I love him, and then like he's just like you're just I love that guy. Like you don't have to know anything about them besides the actors
you understand
who play them,
it.
and you just and it's just
it feels documentarian in like the way that they go throughout the characters, and like they should like it feels like real people working, and you have all those like button pushing things, and like it's very lived in terms of like the way that the characters are.
That's operating. One of the genius parts of Alien is that all the characters are just like workers, you know? They're just workers, like they're functionally truck drivers, you know, that are just in a really terrible, or you could say like oil rig workers or whatever. They're just like caught in like a terrible situation.
That's their job.
Yeah, they're not like geniuses or like, you know, crazy like super smart scientists or like military guys. They're just like, you know, they're like truck drivers, and now there's a fucking alien on board.
And I guess
this one rocks.
You talked about Star Wars coming out in 1977, but this is a year after Halloween came out, so that also is like just to kind of phrase what the culture is in terms of like movies. It's like it's like a horror movie in space. Like it's like that's what they're trying to like. That's what they're selling here. That's like the goal is to kind of make like Halloween in space, basically, in terms of like just trying to make like a really popular movie, and kind of all those pieces coming together to do something like that. It's really remarkable. It's very interesting, especially where the franchise goes, and we'll definitely talk about that with the sequels. But from like a starting point, I think it's like really solid, really great. I mean, one of the movies, you know.
Yeah, that like all-time classic.
Yeah,
and I mean, obviously you have Blade Runner, but it's such a crazy thing for this to be his second film, Ridley Scott's second film. You know, we talked about that being a collaborative effort, but this being anyone's second film is kind of nuts. I mean, especially just like looking back now, 50 years later, basically. like where it is in the culture, and like Alien still means so much like that.
Yeah.
I as an IP, we're on like what is it, 7?
Romulus is the 7th if you don't count the Predator movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
a lot of
It's a
movies
lot of
for
movies.
a
Yeah.
movie franchise that we'll talk about it
And it's cool that
after
they
this,
like
but
span time
it
as well.
arguably does not need that many movies
Yeah.
for what it is.
That's definitely an argument we can make
We
later
can
down
we'll
the road
discuss
here.
that. We'll discuss that when we get to the sequels. But it's kind of crazy that there are 7 of these movies,
Yes.
Yeah.
minus the other ones that also exist.
Yeah.
And
our next one is Aliens.
Yeah.
Which also the only other one I guess that has like the all-time classic label put on it.
Yeah. No, this movie.
I mean, it's also the oldest. Again, like the second oldest,
Sure.
but
The second
that's
oldest. Sure.
But I mean,
Yeah.
Well, it's also the only other one that most people like. I'll say.
Yeah, I know.
Aliens is interesting. So there's this, of course, super famous story. 20th Century Fox had interest in doing an Alien sequel, but didn't really know what to do or have any ideas. James Cameron goes into the meeting and pitches Alien by drawing the $sign after it, like on the he writes Alien on the board and then draws the $sign at the end.
Get rat bastard, that guy
is super awesome. One of the great pitches for any movie, and he gets put on assignment to write Aliens because at the time Ridley Scott had directed one movie, and that was called Piranha 2: The Spawning, and he had already written Terminator, and it was greenlit, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was busy shooting, I believe it was Conan the Barbarian 2. So there was a period of time where James Cameron wasn't working, and he was put on assignment to write Aliens. Okay, James Cameron, you're going to write the movie, and then we're going to get somebody else to come direct it because you are the director of Piranha 2: The Spawning. He writes the movie, and then he goes off and directs the Terminator, and then the Terminator is the Terminator. And then they're like, okay, you can direct Aliens if you really want. Yeah.
If you really want.
Yeah, if you really want. because he was always interested in doing it, but the studio was like, no, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
Well, no, because here's the thing about James Cameron. Like, what's the thing that everybody knows about James Cameron, other than that he makes good movies and that make a lot of money? The guy's an asshole. The guy, he drowns people, right? Like people almost die on his set. Okay, well, an important part of this is that the film is shot in London, so it's not anybody that he's worked with before, other than a couple actors that they brought over. So it's an entirely British crew, and they had to fire 2 cinematographers because they weren't working with him well enough. They had to fire the first AD, and like all of the crew basically like did not respect him, which is like a big part. When you're the director of a big film, that's like the most important thing. Is like everybody needs to respect you.
Yeah.
Because from the crew's perspective, from what some people have said, including one of the cinematographers that got fired, was saying it's like, yeah, he doesn't let me do my job. He just comes over and tells me exactly what to do, and it's like offensive because like, hey, I'm the professional here. It's like you're not a cinematographer, you're the director. But so everybody thinks he's super demanding, and Sigourney Weaver had this. She said that she thought that the crew didn't respect him because they hadn't seen The Terminator. And they're like, oh, who's this like nobody director? So James Cameron hosted like a cast and crew screening for The Terminator, and the crew didn't show up to it.
It's like fucking didn't go to fucking what's his name's birthday.
Yeah.
And draft day, dude. That's a red flag.
Draft day is crazy. That's a crazy poll.
Oh man.
That is a crazy poll.
Oh man.
And the lack of respect from the crew, and like the miscommunication and all the stuff got so bad that Ridley Scott, oh my god, I keep James Cameron, gosh, that James Cameron one day like got in front of the whole crew, called a meeting in front of the cast and crew and said, if you guys keep this up and you guys don't lock in, we're going to fire everybody and just pull the movie. We're just going to not make the movie. From the crew side, I mean, from the cast side, they were saying that it wasn't like as bad for them because they're like, oh, this is James Cameron. And also James Cameron's not an actor, so he's like less demanding for them. In some ways, and other ways, they were using real flamethrowers. And the set was made out of like rubber and plastic. In the scene where like the troops first see the aliens and are freaking out and like they're like, oh, don't use the guns, like only use the flamethrowers. And like And that scene when they're in that enclosed set that's made out of like plastic, they're using the flamethrowers and it's melting the set and it's filling the whole set with fumes. And like they're like they couldn't breathe. Like the cast was talking about, they have the stories of these memories of being on set, and it's like, oh, all of the oxygen is getting like sucked out of their lungs. And um one actor is like yells like, I can't breathe, and it's like another actor was like, oh, that's a good line, that's a good improvised line, and then it hits him and he's like, oh no, I actually can't, I'm dying, I literally cannot breathe.
I'm dying.
And there's like stuff like that, and like every James Cameron movie where he almost kills the entire cast because he's a ridiculous person. But that's like the biggest thing. But another important thing here that I think that is specific, H.R. Giger was not brought back to work on Aliens. Because this introduces the new alien, which is the Queen, like the mother alien.
Yes.
That is designed by James Cameron himself. That was not, H.R. Giger was not brought in to do any work for that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the context for Aliens and how it was made.
Yeah. And that's a good, like, that's one of the big differences, I guess. I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of differences with a different director, but
another one is that this is not a horror movie.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
Kind of a big one. Kind of a big fucking note on this one.
It's an action movie. There are guns involved. How do we feel about it?
Well,
it depends who you ask.
I like this movie a lot.
Well,
yeah.
I think it's cool. It's like a James Cameron movie. It's
yeah, it is, but like I don't. But it's also like
it's like my least favorite stuff of his, though. It's like it's like if you have Avatar, but just no blue people. And
it is kind of like that.
And I really love Avatar, and I really love Titanic. I think the first not Transformers. What's that thing called?
Terminator.
I think the first Terminator is cool. I haven't seen the second one. I should probably do that.
Second one also cool.
Spoiler. But it's I don't know. I like when he's at his most romantic, and I like it when he has crazy blue people like in the sky. I think that's really cool. I'm not so crazy about like his like Starship Troopers thing going on here. Like it's also I think definitely notable for this one when we talk about the cast. It's like it's Ripley and bust for this cast. Like I don't care about
it's Michael Biehn
Bill Paxton's
and Bill
there.
Paxton.
Fuck off.
Bill Paxton's there. He's having
Michael
fun.
Bihn's in the Terminator and he's good.
No.
I really like Paxton. I'll say that much. I'll defend Paxton. I'm not like I think I feel pretty similarly to Owen, where like although I will say I definitely like this movie more than Owen, I think.
Sure.
But I think when I stack it up against like other Cameron stuff, I'm like, I've grown to really like him, but this is definitely like the exact kind of movie of his that I like the least.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not like the Avatar stuff for me. It's not like the Abyss for me. It's just like
it's not as romantic as Avatar or the Abyss or Titanic.
Which is like that's kind of where I
like
buy
his
in.
best for me when he's like this love is like bigger than the fucking universe.
Yeah, which is like that's like the most me thing. So like of course I'm gonna like that stuff more than when he's just doing aliens.
I think there is a bit of that in this movie with Ripley and Newt, the kid, though.
Okay, but here's my thing though, and you're kind of right. Except I don't fucking like her. I don't like that little girl. Okay. I don't want her there. So like I don't know.
This is my thing. I think Newt's like whatever. I think this is the most boring Sigourney Weaver is in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't really like Newt because I don't like how like Sigourney Weaver. Like I don't like Ripley in this movie. I don't like her character to me in this movie. I'm like, I don't like the writing, not the writing, but just like her whole arc and like the whole like involving the kid. I'm just like, I don't really care about this.
I don't really care about them, which is really funny because it's like Ripley. Oh, it's like I love Ripley. She wakes up and I'm like, who the fuck?
I just like once they find the kid from that point on, I'm like, I just don't. This doesn't mean a lot.
Yeah,
to
I
me,
mean, like it has its moments, but
it does have its. The mother alien thing that you're talking about at the end, I think is really fucking cool. Like I'm like, that's fucking awesome. I like that. It has parts, but overall, not like. I'm being negative only because I'm comparing it to other things that I like more, but I do still like the movie.
I think that Ripley's character in this is really complex and interesting when you
That's fine.
as a sequel to
That's
Alien.
fine.
Because it's there's this idea that I have where it's Alien is a movie that's about rape in many ways.
Yes.
Not only just as a metaphor, but also like literally. Yeah, it's like forced impregnation,
Right.
of
I mean,
aliens.
that scene with Ian Holm and the fucking newspaper in her mouth.
Oh yeah, and like Ian Holm in the movie.
That's
It's a very
like literally.
and H.R. Giger, he's an erotic artist.
Yeah.
Also, so it's a very it's a
Very
movie.
phallic things in all these movies.
Yeah, it's so Alien is like a movie about rape. I think that Aliens is like a movie about a woman who was raped and has to like face her rapist again. And I think that is kind of a complex idea, and I think that is something that is a little emotional to me. Especially when it's like her kind of like working through that and like becoming stronger than like the negative thing that happened to her. But you know, if you don't like anything else that happens in the movie, then you don't. Then that
It's
like
tough.
Yeah. No, I mean it's like it's a good perspective. I just like wish I felt the way watching this that I do when I watch like the first one. Like I don't know. There's not.
Well, I mean, we touched on it at the beginning, but it's like it's an action movie. It's like an 80s action
Yeah,
movie,
exactly.
and
Which
it's like
is just like
it's
less my
tough.
vibe already.
It's tough to. It's one thing like watching it alone, but like when you put them together, it's definitely a shift for sure.
Yeah.
And it's something like and this franchise does that a lot, and it kind of there's like this feeling where it's like because it's constantly like director, new movie, new director, and it constantly has this feeling in this franchise of like this guy did not like the last movie. It's like and I'm not sure, I'm not saying James Cameron didn't like the first one, but
Cameron
it's like
definitely did, but
the second movie has a feeling of like,
Yeah.
I would make that movie differently, right? It has a thing. It's like I'm a different director, so they're taking different turns. So it's logically you're going to feel differently when it's like a completely different kind of movie.
Yeah.
And that this one doesn't really work for me in the way that James Cameron takes it, but it's at least more interesting than some other ones just because of it's a direction that's more interesting than some other ones. And I respect that. I'm not a big fan of this one. I wouldn't rewatch this one unless it's like a podcast or something like that. I'm gonna do.
In interviews, Cameron kind of talks about how much he loves the first movie, but he really, really did not want to tread on anything that the first movie did again.
Owen said I wouldn't rewatch this one unless it's a podcast, but what he meant was unless it's for a podcast. And I heard that and I thought he meant unless it was like rewatching it in podcast form.
Yeah, I just fucking listen to the audio.
Yeah, the aliens.
No, I mean, sense it's kind of like it's an interesting route though. I do think it is an interesting route, especially like we're talking about like Halloween and it being this like big horror movie and just like the kind of horror movie franchise route. And I think James Cameron was smart to take it in like a different direction. It doesn't all work for me, but it is like that thing where we're talking about like, does this movie need infinite sequels and can it hold infinite sequels when it's like,
yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of people would argue it should have just been this one.
There's definitely like a cheaper, lazier way that could definitely appease people, but not be as ambitious. And I do think this is very ambitious and a smart direction to take the franchise, but ultimately it just doesn't work for me.
I don't know. I think a common theme for me throughout all of these is gonna be that like all of the sequels kind of don't stack up to the original for me, and I would maybe argue that we just needed the one movie, but I also like all of the sequels, except for one that we'll get to later. But so I don't know. Like I'm fine with it if they made a bunch of good movies out of it. I enjoy all of them. Aliens is definitely not like.
Well, I think this one's a smart sequel as well because it's continuing. It's a very direct continuation.
Yeah, which is
narrative, which not all of these are, and not all of these make sense as direct narrative continuations. Where this one is like the easiest and the most seamless like narrative. And one you could argue it it ends kind of narratively here, and then it kind of like gets really little silly goosey.
Another could argue that there's a trilogy and it ends.
Oh, okay.
That's kind
Right.
of
That is
And
another
we might as
argument,
well.
and then it gets really weird.
Yeah, after that,
Yes.
I would argue that there's like a pretty
Um,
concrete trilogy, and then it gets kind of off the rails.
I
After
can
that.
buy into that.
Speaking of, our next movie is Alien 3, directed by David Fincher, which came out in
Yeah,
1992.
Finch.
Alien Cubed, if you ask the right person.
Or the wrong person, because it's annoying.
Sure.
Yeah, fuck off.
Anyway, that's the third movie, the Alien 3.
Yeah,
Fincher
Yeah,
directs
yeah.
it.
this is David Fincher's directorial feature-length directorial
Which is
debut.
weird they keep doing this shit. What the fuck is? It's so bizarre that they like keep getting these like
Really
soon to
young.
be great like guys that are like really young. It's
Yeah.
like like you couldn't get like fucking good or not. I mean, not good. I mean, like it's an alien movie. You couldn't get
Right.
fucking.
Well,
someone
here's the
great.
thing. Okay, we'll get into it.
Let's
So,
listen.
Alien 3, Ridley Scott was considered to come back and make a prequel film.
Prequel. We would have done Prometheus. in the
Yes,
90s.
this is the early remnants of Prometheus happened around the
With
around
no
the
writer.
the filming when 20th Century Fox was thinking about doing another alien movie. Ridley Scott.
That probably would have
prequel
been
film.
smart.
To
To just
but
do those two and then immediately go.
it did not get picked up because it was too expensive.
Yeah.
These movies
Yeah.
are pretty expensive.
Well, Alien 3.
Oh yeah, they put them in a basement. That's true. Well, that's the weird thing when we talk about like it being kind of like a horror franchise. It's like an expensive horror. It's like Star Wars, but a horror franchise. So it's like it's a weird thing to kind of budget around because it's like the biggest horror franchise ever made in terms of like the size of like the things you need. Like when it's like Halloween, it's like you have the IP, but it's also you can shoot it in like a neighborhood, right?
Right.
Or,
Or
this
like a
you have
house.
to build like
Yeah.
a spaceship.
You have to
It's
build a
like, it's, like,
spaceship and multiple sets. And if you're Ridley Scott,
ridiculous.
multiple like ridiculously large sets.
Yeah, they're like it's like the biggest horror franchise ever in terms of like the scale of it. So it's really interesting in terms of like the production and the budget stuff because it's
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
hard to
speaking of
kinda
that,
tackle.
to go back to Alien 1, there's the very famous space jockey set when they come in and it's like the huge like whole rooms designed by H.R. Giger. The studio was like, you guys can't do this. This is too expensive.
Yeah.
This is like way too expensive for one scene. But then Ridley Scott kind of put his foot down and was like, this is the most important scene of the entire movie.
So we got those little kids that run around there.
Yeah. But yeah, so Alien 3,
And the set small.
what 20th Century Fox was like, we should make another Alien movie because these make money.
Yep.
And they were like, okay, what if Ridley Scott has talked about wanting to do a prequel? What if we do that? It's too expensive. So then they go through like 6 writers and like a bunch of different drafts from all those writers trying to find something that sticks. They don't really pick up on any of it. There was like one draft that got up to the executive and it was about a prison planet. It was like, oh, what if there was an alien on like a maximum security prison planet? And then the executive at 20th Century Fox at the time said that he did not like it because Ripley was not in the story. So then they put that aside. And then David Fincher was brought on. David Fincher was brought on because he was very young, and he was also like the most like sought after like the most successful music video director at the time. But also Fincher was very vocal saying that he loves Alien and that he would love to make an Alien movie. He said that he had an idea to like he had specifically wanted to make an Alien movie since he was in high school, and he wrote a script. But right before production started, 20th Century Fox brought on another writer to do an emergency total rewrite of David Fincher's script. And then it got back to David Fincher, and he in interviews kind of talked about how it's like this draft that he got, it was fucking terrible. Like actually like unfilmable garbage. So then 20th Century Fox brought on the original writers from the first Alien to do another emergency rewrite. So you can tell like this is a really smooth production already.
Yeah.
Just
Classic.
what you need.
They bring back this idea of like the maximum security prison planet. The entire skeleton of Alien 3 is created on this draft, where it's like maximum security prison planet. Ripley's like crash lands there. They're like a bunch of like Christians, like all of that stuff's in there. David Fincher still didn't like the movie, but the film, like the producers, like talked to him and were like, "Hey man, listen, like you just got to do it." Basically, and they like it was like a whole thing where they gone to him and they were like, dude, this is like such a great opportunity, like you just got to deal with it, you know, it's like this is really good for you. And he said, I think it was an interview when he was on the press junket for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, he said, quote, I foolishly thought that the producers and executives had more to lose on this movie than I did. And that's obviously not how he felt. David Fincher was basically not given like any room to do what he wanted to do. It was like supposed to be a 90-day shoot, and they like cut it to be a 65-day shoot. There's supposed to be like an extra set that they like, oh, we're not going to build this set. It was this whole fucking deal. Sigourney Weaver said, what was ironic was that Fox chose David Fincher, who was so talented, and from the second he got the job, they undermined him by not giving him what he was asking for. For me, it was a real education on how not to make a movie. And that is kind of the short of Alien
Real
3.
From Sigourney. That makes a lot of sense in terms of like you always hear like David Fincher talking about like that he like disowns this movie and like he doesn't like, and it makes sense if he was like, oh, I really love Alien, I finally get to make an Alien movie, and they don't let him do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
That being said, this movie is really good.
It's really good.
It's a good one. This is one of the good ones. It's a good movie. And a lot of that for me, this is more. It's more to the formula of what the original Alien was. It's just like new setting, new people. But a lot of the new stuff is actually really interesting and like an interesting. Again, it's doing the same formula, right? But it's interesting and new, and like the way that they incorporate the formula is fun, and I like it. And it's like really dark, and everyone's bald.
And
it's
like
you have some
infinitely more horrifying.
Great cast. Brian Glover,
and it's a fucking David Fincher movie, awesome. So it looks amazing. Like
it's really great. This one's awesome. I watched it again this morning. It's not my favorite, but it is definitely a good Alien movie for sure.
I like that it's like a horror movie, like a real
this
horror
is back
movie
to
after
the horror.
I think I even like almost got a bump in like binging it this way because of seeing Aliens and being like, oh, this isn't exactly the vibe I want, and then immediately
boom, everyone's bald.
It's just like boom, everyone died and they're all bald.
Well,
that's really scary this time, and also the world is fucked up. And I'm like, that rocks. Like I'm into that.
This one is definitely has that feeling, like I was saying, like the guy hated the one before it, where it's like, oh, you remember those guys from before? They're all dead. It's off screen. We killed them. We didn't care about those guys. And that's like, for someone who doesn't love Aliens, I was like, okay, I'm easily transitioning over here because I didn't really know their guys.
Do you think that ruined the movie for like any average people?
Oh, 100%.
Like, they saw Aliens and then Alien 3 came out.
Kill
that
like, kid
as soon as it started, they killed the kid, and then everybody's just like, this movie sucks.
That 100%. Did. This is people did not. Alien 3 came out and people did not like it. Because
I know, but I was just wondering if like
all my favorite guys.
The reason was because they thought it was a bad movie, or if it
was specifically put yourself in the shoes, right? Let's say Avatar: The Way of Water has come out, right? You're like, oh man,
it has come out.
So let's say that it has. So then you're like, oh man, I love Avatar: The Way of Water, right? And then from like, it's not the same thing, but from like an average person's point of view, like your layman that doesn't know anything about movies.
This would Avatar 2 be Alien 3? I think that's a better example. No. It would be like if Avatar came out and then the new one came out and they killed all the people from the first one.
Well, that's what I say. And then what if Avatar 3 comes out, right? And you're sitting in the theater watching Avatar 3 and fucking Kiri and all of the Jake Sully kids are dead. Yeah.
But it would be crazy for the third movie to be like that.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. Like, what are we doing?
No, I know. It makes sense.
But it's a horror
franchise.
Sick as fuck.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is.
And it's thematically rich. That's the biggest thing.
But I think it has such a singular kind of vibe, especially even in its own franchise, in terms of like the grit and the grime, and something that for a movie franchise that started with a self-contained spaceship horror
Mhm.
thing. I love when they go to new places and they like, and that's why I love the prequels so much, and we'll get to that later. But I
Yeah.
love the new little place we got here, and it's essentially kind of a ship in the ground
Yeah.
because it's just like it's kind of the same layout as all the ships. We're just like in the ground, or like we're just in rooms. We never really like we leave, but we don't really leave, so it has the same kind of vibe. And this one's like just kind of a great slasher movie. If like you know what, there's a
Yeah.
lot of the other movies kind of delve into other places. This one is like just a really great slasher movie for me. It's it's not perfect, but I do. There's a lot to love
It
here.
is
Um,
incredibly imperfect.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
In a way that's like appealing.
yeah, no, it's interesting. Great cast. Definitely, I prefer the kind of guys we get in this one than two. There's just a lot of great character actors show up in this one, and you're like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
That it's a lot to love for Alien 3.
It's like Ripley's in hell now.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ripley is like really in hell now. And there's so many
Yeah.
amazing moments in this movie. Like there's because these are all criminals. These are all like it's a maximum
Yeah.
security prison. Like these people cannot be on the same
Run
planet.
by the criminals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's like these
yeah.
people cannot be in the same planet with fucking like normal people. And it's a men's only, like it's not mixed sex, it's men's only.
Yeah.
And Ripley is a woman, and it kind of stirs things up. And there's this
Yeah.
line where and they're also like Christians, like born again Christians. And there's this line by the guy that like he like runs kind of like the sermons and stuff, where Ripley's in the mess hall and she's gonna sit down with him and she's like, "Listen, lady, I'm a rapist and a murderer. You don't want to mess with me." And it's like, wow, that's great. No, he says like, "I'm a rapist of women," is what he
Yeah,
says.
he
He says,
does say
I'm,
that's the
he says,
exact line.
"I'm
It's
a
a
rapist
crazy
of
line.
women."
Which is
And
okay,
it's like,
guy.
and it's like, yeah, that's if I was a woman, I would be like, I don't want to be around you. But then like Ripley like
You,
sits
if
down
you,
and it's like,
I
I
don't
must
think
make you
anyone
nervous
would want to
then.
be around
No,
that
yeah,
guy.
you know what I mean. But yeah, of course. But it's
Yeah.
like, but there's
Yeah.
this kind of like there's this like opening of like Ripley, she like doesn't care, anymore. It's like this like
Yeah.
she's this
Yeah.
big hole of it's maybe not like forgiveness, but it's like she's so empty, and she's
Yeah.
like it's like
Well,
okay,
she's lost everything. Like, there's no
yeah,
more she can suffer. Which I think it's an interesting extension, or I guess like where we are now, in terms of Alien 3, where you in the first one you have like a crew you relatively trust, right? But then it
Mhm.
is revealed that there is one person you can't trust, right?
yes,
And then it's like your trust is kind of lost there. And now when you're in Alien 3, it's like you can't trust anybody, and there's like a level of like the crew is not one that you can trust, and that's a whole kind of flipping on that original Alien, where it's a kind of comfort of that working crew that you've been with, and you kind of have some level of familiarity with them, and it's kind of a family oriented thing. Whereas in Alien 3, it's like, geez, and then like there's a scene where Ripley gets like attacked by like a group of them, which it's like, and to kind of go with the kind of the rape allegory of the franchise, and to kind of just surround her with like actual rapists is kind of like
yes,
the craziest like kind of way to like kind of put her in like the hell of this like underground thing. So yeah, in terms of like new ideas, stick to the formula in terms of like it being that like slasher with the aliens. I think it's a really solid entry, and definitely one that I think it's people come around on it for sure, but it's definitely
it's
one that like
yeah,
in terms of like film circles, but like it's definitely one that's still like looked down
it,
upon
it's tough because David Fincher was
himself.
approached to
Oh,
do well, yeah, because David Fincher himself
he's like
talks.
also like this movie sucks. So
Yeah, he's like, this movie sucks.
that's like that's the worst
Um,
argument though in terms of
yeah,
like when people bring that up, because it's like, yeah, no shit, he didn't get the movie he wanted to make. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
yeah. David Fincher was approached to do a director's cut for the
Mhm.
DVD release, and he said no because like he doesn't want fucking anything
Yeah,
to do with
I
this.
mean,
Um,
yeah.
but so they did. It's the special edition version, which is longer. It's called people call it the assembly cut. That's like the fan term for it, is the assembly cut, because it's not a director's cut. It's just add in all of the deleted scenes are now in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, and it's frustrating because the theatrical cut and the assembly cut, uh, they are both like incomplete movies, and I wish that I could do my own edit of the movie because there's a really
can.
amazing movie that I could.
In
I
ways.
need more than what is
Yeah.
available. But
You need to
because
shoot some
there's
extra scenes. What is
yeah,
going on?
there's like a really amazing movie in there. If it's just like if
Yeah.
there's just a cut a
The
little
assembly cut
differently.
it does feel a little long. I mean, it makes sense. It's like you're adding more stuff to it.
Yeah.
Again, not a perfect movie, but it's a good one for sure.
I think that
Yeah.
I would go as far as to say I think that the funeral scene when they're cremating all of the bodies, that might be my favorite scene in any Alien movie, in any of these
wow.
movies. It is really
Yeah,
it is
that is high praise.
very incredible. Well, because it's you have the guy who's like giving the prayer while they're doing it, and it's just
He's
like the
great.
images dissolving into the images, dissolving into the images,
Yeah,
and it's
no,
like
it's
the
a good sequence.
faces. It's it's I like it
Yeah.
quite a bit.
I'd be curious before we move on, I guess just off the top of your heads, because I don't want you to pull it out. But a lot of Fincher talk, and we can't do Alien rankings, but like, where does this compare to other Fincher movies for you?
It's like the only Fincher I have a relationship with, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's a similar
Really?
thing. It's like I haven't seen some of his movies in like forever. It's the one I've seen, the recent.
I love Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah,
A
I also
lot.
love
I
that
really
one.
love that movie. But and I really like Seven a lot, and I really like The Social Network. But I don't have a relationship to any of those like I do with Alien 3. You know, I'm like Alien 3, I'm like, yeah, this is like my little special movie. This is like my thing that I defend, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair.
Just wait till you watch Mank, buddy.
Yeah, right.
I do like this more than Mank, but I don't like it more than most of his movies. But not to say, I don't know. That's like
Yeah,
a
I mean, he
weird.
doesn't
I
either.
I
So.
like kind of all of his movies, so it's a weird. I was just curious because a lot of talk about how much he likes the movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Our next movie is Alien Resurrection, the fourth entry,
What the fuck is
which
going on
came out
here?
in 1997.
What a movie.
How do we feel? So this is like widely regarded as the worst movie by like everybody in the franchise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of the common opinion is that this is the worst one.
Well,
Um,
should we say what happens at the end of Alien 3? Because that's kind of important for this movie.
Yeah, spoilers. So actually, yeah, this is actually, and this is part of why I think that thematically it's a kind of a really good trilogy, Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3, because the whole what all of these movies are about is the company. Like Weyland Corp, right? The company is trying to get the alien. They're trying to get the alien for whatever reason, to weaponize it, to study it, whatever. But like that's the whole thing. It's like they really want to get these aliens.
And I really like the company as like an idea.
And Ripley's character, like her whole thing, kind of after the first one, is like they cannot get a hold of these aliens. And there's this really amazing line in Alien 3 where Ripley, it's like when her and all the prisoners are like, we're gonna die regardless, we should kill the aliens, we should like die trying to kill the alien. And she's like, listen, we were I forgot what but like we were like truck drivers, and they didn't care. We were
because they're gonna come like pick us up. The people are like they're gonna rescue us. That's the whole thing. It's like, and they're like, oh, you think they're gonna rescue you? You guys rape women.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's like, they didn't care about the workers. They were indispensable for the alien. They didn't care about the Marines. They were indispensable for the alien. What makes you think that they're gonna care about fucking prisoners, right? And that's the
really
whole thing.
Interesting whole. And then fucking Bishop comes back and she falls.
Yeah, and Bishop comes back. Well, yeah, because she the big twist, I guess, in Alien 3 is that she has an alien
she's the mother of the queen.
The queen is inside of her.
Yeah.
So she kills herself at the end of the movie. Bishop comes back, or like the designer of the android Bishop comes and is like, "Hey, like, come on!" And she kills herself. So it's it's like a closed book.
Well, because she's going to die. The thing is going to chest burst out of her, and she's going to die. So she sacrifices herself ultimately, so that the queen does not get born.
Yeah. Really awesome.
But then,
really cool.
And then Alien
somehow
Resurrection.
Right.
Somehow.
You could guess by the title.
Yes.
That
I
was
like
not the
this
same one.
movie. It's silly. It's
You know, it's like kind of a total mess, and it's probably the only one that I won't ever watch again. But at the same time, it's not like the worst movie I've ever. It's actually really not even close to the worst movie I've ever
It's
seen.
not the
It's like
worst movie.
kind of, it's like
There's not the worst
kinda
movie in this
got-
franchise.
yeah, it's kind of got like that's true. Hey, we can't do that yet. I mean, I guess the title of the podcast is going to give it away. But
What is
regardless,
the title of the podcast? Alien Romulus stinks. Is that the title of the podcast?
probably Alien Romulus is the worst alien movie.
Oh, okay,
something
that's a
like
good one, that's a
that.
good
You
one.
know,
the worst
something
alien
like that.
movie? Question mark! Exclamation point. So,
Sure,
something
yeah,
like that.
something along those lines. Anyway, the title will be giving away that part, so we don't have to be that cautious about spoiling it.
I
But
wasn't. I
Resurrection
actually
is
said
like,
it out loud.
yeah,
There's a line in this
It's-
movie where they're like, yeah, Wayland Industries, they were bought out by Walmart years ago, and that was, I think that was that ruined the movie. That really
yeah. The
hurt
problem
my
is the
butt.
script sucks.
That really
the problem
hurt
is the
me
script is
inside.
bad.
I was
So-
like, damn, man, jeez.
Joss Whedon
Fuck.
wrote the script.
Like,
yeah.
Walmart bought my guy.
Joss Whedon was hired to write the screenplay, which went through many iterations with lots of studio notes.
Yeah.
that's the first sign of my notes. Is that's
And we come out the other
Yeah.
side.
No, the script is
with a
bad.
movie that sucks.
Yeah.
Like script that sucks. I should say.
It's
the movie was originally pitched to be about the clone of Newts, who's
Yes,
the kid from
which-
Aliens.
I don't know if who wanted that. I just
Yeah. That was
Not
me.
Joss
The Newt-
Whedon's
not
that was,
me.
that was
New
Joss Whedon's
Chronicles over here.
idea.
That would have been horrible.
Yeah, that was a Joss Whedon idea, and then the studio was like, "What are you talking about? Bring back Ripley."
Like, no one gives
So would
fuck
it have been
about
a
Newt.
grown-up Newt?
Yeah,
It must have been, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it would be a.
Winona Ryder was gonna
They would
play
resurrect her, but make her older.
Well, it's like they grow her in like a lab.
yeah.
And
Here's
I don't
the
know why
second
they
line of
would
my
do
notes.
that
You know something
shit.
about
Like,
growing,
why
right?
would they grow up this random girl that died?
The second line of my notes. Sigourney Weaver agreed to come back because she liked Whedon's script and had a big
no.
paycheck and a producer credit.
She did get like $10 million.
She got like $12 million, I think.
Yeah, I'd do the same thing.
Yeah.
In
I
the
don't-
90s. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It seems like she just likes everybody who she works with because she's just been really positive about all of these people. Liking Josh Whedon's script is like a little suspect.
Yeah, that script's not very
Yeah.
good.
You
Well,
know what I
here's the
will
thing. Here's the
say,
thing.
though?
It's not the worst fucking script in the world, though. I'll defend that. And Joss Whedon's not the worst writer in the world.
A
He's-
lot of
no,
it is
he's
just
not
the
the wor- I mean,
dialogue
he's-
is the big part. Like
Yeah,
it's like
that's
the actual like plot events and like the way
Yeah,
it's
it's not
happening. Like
the
it's
worst.
whatever.
Yeah.
The dialogue is like kind of crazy.
No, it's really
Yeah.
bad.
There's some really awful lines, like all time bad lines. But like
the
as a,
fuck
like
is
structurally as a
Yeah,
script,
it's not like
It's
a
interesting.
egregious-
There's like something there.
But he is
A lot of
he's
it is, like,
not
I-
like a good writer.
There
of
was like a lot of
dialogue.
interesting set pieces in this movie. Especially like there's that big sequence where they're swimming, and that's like my favorite part of the movie
Oh yeah.
by far. That shit rocked.
I don't have much to comment on for this one, but what I will say is that my favorite part of the movie is definitely at the beginning where they play basketball.
Yes.
Kind of fucking awesome, where she's just like spinning the ball around her. She's like playing keep away with a basketball.
Yeah. Well,
And it's like her and Ron Perlman, and
I
he's like
listened-
trying to take the ball from her.
I listened to the director's commentary, and the
I don't know what's going on. But
like Doug died.
sorry, there was like
um,
somebody was like running, like stomping, running upstairs.
Alien.
Great.
There's an alien.
might be an alien.
No, sorry.
Anyway, the director's cut. You were saying.
In the director's commentary for the extended cut of the film,
Oh, right. Yes.
he like made such a big deal out of the basketball thing, because so Sigourney Weaver makes the shot from like, she just tosses the ball behind her back and makes a shot, and he
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, we're gonna do it like a CG. It was gonna be like, we're gonna just like make an effect, but he made such a big deal about, like, Sigourney was like, no, it has to be real, and he was like, I'm so proud of Sigourney for being able to do that. It's like, oh, it's like ridiculous.
Being able to shoot a basketball.
Hey man.
Also, not the last time that someone shoots a basketball in a
No,
in
well,
an
that's
alien
that's
movie.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, because like he was talking about how, because Sigourney Weaver is she's like she's like, it's complicated.
Oh.
She's not a person. She's not
Right.
she's not a
So
human.
she has the ability.
But she's not
to
like
sync
a
with
clone,
not
but
a
like
synthetic.
she's a clone, but she's not a synthetic, but she's like more like a
Yeah.
synthetic than a human.
Right.
The
The point is, she's got.
Well,
She's got
there's
a means
the
to evolve.
synthetics in this movie are bizarre because it's like
Ridley Scott, the way that Ridley
Right.
Scott always talks about him, he's like, he just calls them replicants, which are
he's so
it's like from
funny.
Blade Runner. That's what he calls all of them.
Which is not really, it's different, but
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, Ridley's funny. But in this movie, it's revealed, like in the third act, that Winona Ryder's character Call
Yes.
is a like weird type of synthetic. What is that?
You just combine the two.
Synthetic. She's like this like synthetic that like went out of like production and like was like secret. It's a weird plotline. But she's like basically like a normal girl, but she bleeds milk.
Yeah, like all the other
and then
synthetics.
she also can do the other things, but she like has like human emotions.
Yeah,
It's weird because it kind of takes like all the fun parts about a synthetic and it like gets rid of it, and then she's just like has the powers of one, but like acts like a real person. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
her character's kind of interesting. Her character's kind of weird. I mean, that's a better word. Her character's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
but
because she gets shot and falls in the water. And
yeah.
then she's like, and then she like does like a little, and then there's some milk coming out of her.
I think this movie is cool for a number of reasons. One of them is that it's just like Firefly. Are you guys familiar with Firefly?
Not familiar with the
That's
Joss Whedon picture.
Joss
no.
Whedon's sci-fi TV show. It's very.
I'm familiar with the fact that it exists.
It is kind of like this. I like that show. I liked it as a kid. I haven't seen it as an adult. I liked it as a kid. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is like 90s sci-fi. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that this movie has some really powerful moments in it. So they go to this room. Haven't even mentioned the whole crew, like the cast of this film are like, they're like pirates. It's like Ron Perlman.
It's a different. It's not the like traditional alien structure. And I guess the traditional alien structure was only really in
the first
1 and 3 because
and 3, yeah,
because 2 is different. But like it's very different in terms of like the people we have, the kind of where we are. Like, you know, it has the alien stuff in it, but it is like a structurally, and you know, it's very different from those other movies, I guess. Which is like, you know, it's
like pirates,
respectable. Yes, and like, it's some like Guardians of the Galaxy shit. It's
yeah,
like, they like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is
I
going
did
on?
think about that at one point, and I hated myself for thinking about it.
Well, it's
but...
like in the freaking beginning when Michael Wincott like shows up and he's like, they're making deal. I don't know. It's very like, it is like, you know, it's like the pirate. It's like Star Wars-y.
Yeah. But there's this one scene where Ripley and the crew, like the gang, they find like the lab where it's like all of the failed attempts to clone Ripley,
Yeah,
and
it's
there's
really
like the Ripley clone that's like still alive on the table. That is so sad. It's so fucked up and
really
sad.
fucked up.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
like bald and all like.
yeah, it's
And
like,
then she's like, kill me.
yeah, it's
And then
so
they
fucked
burn the
up.
place up.
It's like so much of the movie is silly and kind of dumb, and then there's
Well,
like
that's-
that just comes out of it, and I'm like, whoa.
That's why, like, I think like under different circumstances, this would be like a really great movie, because I think there's like elements of it that are really strong. There's just elements of it that like totally like ruin the movie for me. But there are like the things like that are really interesting, and like under further drafts and with different writers, I think could have been. Really
I mean,
cool.
you changed the script, and you probably got one of the better movies in the franchise.
The clone stuff is really weird for me. I think like that stuff's interesting. It's so weird to have Ripley back, especially like in terms of like how she's acting. I know it's like it's not Ripley, but it's just weird, you know, to see Sigourney Weaver like that.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, the movies, and maybe under like, again, different writing, it would have like meshed better. But to like see Ripley and then she's like, all this stuff's going on, it's like, what did you do?
Yeah.
To the Alien franchise?
So
This is like the one where it's like, if I was just like, oh, I'm gonna make an Alien movie, it's like, let's just forget about that one. You know, let's it's, you know, the first three, the prequels, and then this one, it's like, I don't know, we can like act like that one didn't happen.
So
Yeah.
Fox hired Joss Whedon to write the script, and they gave like tons of script notes and iterations and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but there was no director attached. They approached Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle said
Like
no.
train spotting, right? This works, right?
They approached Peter Jackson, and Peter Jackson was like,
I
no.
don't fucking like Alien.
And then they approached Bryan Singer, and Bryan Singer
Dude,
was like,
imagine the Bryan Singer Joss Whedon Alien movie. That would have been right up your alley, Doug.
probably would have been really good. But
That's a crazy thing to say. Somebody clip that.
That would have been horrible.
Hey, X2 is a good movie.
Oh
But yeah,
I'd like to see the Danny Boyle one.
yeah. They all said no.
I like Mr. Boyle.
So then they
the
settled
movie's direction is the problem.
on Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
I'm
Or
a lead
Junet,
director.
sorry, Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Why? What's the issue with them finding directors to make these movies?
Jean-Pierre.
No
Here's
one
the
wants to
thing:
make an Alien movie.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet did not speak English while they
Yeah.
were filming this movie.
Which let Joss Whedon just do
Yeah.
whatever he wanted. He could just Joss Whedon can sneak a few extra like weird jokes in there.
Yeah, very crazy. But Jean-Pierre
Yeah.
Jeunet, he's like, he
Yeah,
seems
no,
like
he's
a good
he
director.
knows what
Yeah.
he's doing.
He's
It's
a
just,
silly guy. He's very
it's
silly.
bizarre to choice.
Yes, he's like
It doesn't make any sense.
he's the wrong pick for an alien movie because he is a silly Frenchman that likes like fart jokes and stuff.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck?
Yeah. And that's
Which
why,
is a weird, again, course correction that feels like, oh, you guys didn't like Alien 3, we're gonna make a sillier version. Like it's like more in line with Aliens, but it's like a sillier, and it's like a silly action movie. It's kind
Yeah.
of what this one is, which is again, it's like just find the lane franchise, because it's like it's so weird the way that they're, and it's like it's fun, you know, having people come in and out and like do their own thing in this, but it's so like back and forth and wobbly. Like the franchise like has like a weird direction and it's not always hits, and a lot of that has to do with like it not really, and that's why the kind of people like a lot of different ones and people have different opinions on the you know what they think is right, because it's so off the wall and kind of the tones that they shift between movies. And when you have, you know, Ridley Scott's the only person to direct multiple of these, and it took till 2012, which was you know 50 years ish after the first one, 40 years after the first one. So you know, for a long time it was, you know, you get one Alien movie, then you're off fucking to make something else, and then someone else comes in. So really weird kind of the way that these all get made, in terms of it doesn't seem like the right way to run a franchise, but it's still, you know, we're talking about an Alien movie in 2024, so I guess they're still alive. You know, it's still a big deal. Somehow, despite literally like every seemingly way to stop that from happening.
Two more. There's two more alien
so
movies.
now we get to Prometheus, which is
Yes.
a prequel
It is
movie, and Ridley Scott is back as the
2012.
director. Yes, the year 2012 is Prometheus.
Yeah, this was good.
Cool movie.
Yeah, the production of this one is
Really
kind of
liked
like they dumped a fucking garbage truck like load of cash dollar bills on Ridley Scott's driveway, and we're like, here, make your fucking big sci-fi movie if you want.
Yeah, well, it comes years after the old one, and the last one puts you in a weird spot, right?
Yeah,
because it's like, do you just ignore that one happened? Do you reboot it? Because there was originally plans for Joss Whedon to do another one, which would have been like on Earth, because at the end of that movie they're like on like apocalyptic Earth, but no one fucking liked that movie, so they didn't do that, right? And then like 10 years later, actually like 14 years later, they're like, okay, Ridley Scott, you can finally do this fucking thing you want to do for 30 years.
Yeah, he's going to do
And
it
it's
forever.
fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome.
Do you wanna set it up with the marketing, because I think that's a cool thing to bring up.
Oh
for
yeah, this
Prometheus.
movie's called Prometheus, and it's not called Alien. It's not called Prometheus colon Alien. It's not called Alien colon Prometheus. It's called Prometheus, and
Yeah.
there's no fucking xenomorphs in this movie. There's no the poster is a big fucking little Easter Island ass head. Uh, it's like not an it's like there's like no
Yeah.
like your layman does not know that this is an alien movie.
Yeah. I didn't see this movie in theaters,
I was 11 years
so
old when this movie was in theaters.
well,
I wasn't
I
born yet.
remember my friend seeing it in theaters, and I remember
You're like, this shit
people I
fucking
knew.
sucks.
No, I remember one of my friends growing up when I would ask him his favorite movies. One of the movies he would name is Prometheus. Like,
Did
I
he know
remember
it
that
was an
being a
alien
detail,
movie?
and I didn't. Yeah, but I didn't know. Like I just had always put it off, and now obviously I just watched it for the first time this past week. But like, is there like did the average person like watch it and then like in the middle of the movie they're like, oh, this is kind of giving alien vibes, or did they just like completely not know until the last scene?
I think I think that the average person probably didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
How would they know?
Some
Like-
old fart was gonna tell us.
I don't know, because there's like scenes where there's like it's like it's same like
Hey, wait, they talk about
I
Wayland
mean, they
Industries and stuff like that.
yeah, they go
It's
into
like,
yeah, but well, I guess like the
there's, like,
average,
things
but
that feel
does the
exactly
average
like they
person know?
could
I mean, they
be.
go like literally go on to the whole thing's about the space jockey from the first movie.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
and it's like the average person who
but I thought like that's what
knew
people
who
were mad
Ridley
about. Like,
Scott
people were like,
was.
"There's no xenomorphs. Where are our
Right.
xenomorphs?" So like they had to
yeah.
be anticipating xenomorphs to be upset that there weren't xenomorphs
Exactly.
in
That's
the
what I'm
movie.
saying. So I feel like the average person was like, because I'm sure still when they marketed it, there were trailers
Yeah,
that
come
were
on.
like from the guy who made Alien,
Mhm.
and then like people
but
were like, oh,
it's
this is
like-
the guy who made Alien.
You know, you don't. I'm not expecting Gladiator to show up. They say the guy
Sure,
made
yeah.
Gladiator. No,
That's true. I don't know. I just
It's something that
was questioning that as I was watching it. Like when the first like kind of like alien type creature shows up in my head, I was just like, huh, I wonder if people like saw this in
Yeah.
theaters and
Well,
were like,
I
oh, is this about to
definitely,
be
like,
an
they
alien movie, or
did-
if they just like completely didn't know.
I definitely people were mad that weren't aliens in that movie, but I don't know if it was. Yeah, I'm not sure because I wasn't around.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were like 4 years old.
But this movie, this is kind of where like I like get really into this franchise because I love the first one, and then I'm like, I like the third one. But these are kind of
Yeah.
like my babies in terms of like I think this shit is the coolest shit ever in terms of like you have this horror movie and then you turn it into like it needs to be like the biggest movies ever made to me in terms of like it's a horror movie and we're like traveling around space and going to like different planets and like trying to find like God. Like it's like the crazy that's the crazy thing ever in the world to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's like I really love Alien for what it is and it being like the self-contained, you know, horror movie on a ship. But like when we're like going to different planets and we're like looking for God, and then like it's like a slasher at the same time, it's like this is the craziest shit ever to me. And I wish that like it's like, oh, it's such an obvious direction for the franchise to go from here is to make these like weird space movies that are like really big, and it make like they seem like movies that you like can't sell because they're like, oh, there's like a mega budget space movie, but it also has like weird, like gnarly, like R-rated kills in them. It doesn't seem like something you can make in terms of like unless you're like Ridley Scott and you have Alien and you can like kind of back that off with it. And it it gets even crazier for me in Covenant, but just watching these again for like the whatever time, it's like these seem impossible to me.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't just kind of make that movie. It's like not a movie you can just make unless it's like, oh, it's Alien franchise, which is like it's the craziest
$100
kind
million
of,
blockbuster.
it's exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
like the most expensive Halloween movie is like $30 million. It's like you can't make it $100 million Halloween movie, even though it's like Halloween. It's like,
Michael Fassbender said the sets on Prometheus were the biggest sets he had ever been on.
it's ridiculous,
yeah.
and it's a horror movie.
Yeah,
It's like that. It's
Yeah.
like the craziest thing ever because that genre, in terms of like crazy space horror movie, it's not like it's an $100 million thing, and
Yeah.
they're so singular in that idea in terms of like the way the studio system works and the way that these genre pictures work. That it's like it just every time it's like this is insane. This exists.
Yeah.
So I really love I really love this one a lot.
And the difference
Same.
between Prometheus and every single other Alien movie, including the first one, is that this is an auteur piece. Really, this is like
Yes.
Ridley Scott had this idea. He didn't write the screenplay, but
But it's his.
yeah, but it was all the ideas. It was like he
Yeah.
he like explained like the plot to somebody. He wrote it down. He gave him the draft. He gave extensive notes, and then he
Yeah.
made him rewrite it. It's
yeah, these feel like Ridley's babies. And it's like that's not exactly anything out there. Anything else in the franchise has not been that.
yeah.
Like you said, like it's like, especially like with 3, it's a mess. It's 4, it's like it's Josh Whedon's movie, I guess. It's like really weird. And then obviously 2 is 2. But yeah, these feel like these movies that Ridley's wanting to make forever. He's like, yeah, I'll make 4 of them if you let me, because he's like, I really believe in this.
Yeah,
and
we'll get to that.
That really works for me. I won't say my rank.
Yeah, this stuff really works. I mean, these two, I think,
it's so
like
cool.
Prometheus and Covenant, I'm still probably struggling to decide which one of them I like more. But I will say that before I got to this one, Doug and Owen were like insistent that Prometheus would be my jam, like
Yeah.
very much
Yeah,
a me movie.
it's so cool.
And it very much is. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm a guy who took 4 philosophy classes in college, and then Prometheus is just like, what if God made us and hated his creation? And I'm just like,
That's-
that does appeal to a guy who's read a lot about that.
And then it's also a movie about like hating God, because it's David, right? And it's so interesting because it's like we're looking for who made us, and David is there, are surrounded by people that made him, and they bully him. They're like my fucking servant.
Yeah.
Like you.
Well, it's so good. There's a line in Prometheus where David is talking to him, and he's like, one of the characters, and he's basically, they're like, what if you go, or why, like, okay, basically the guy's like, we made you because we can make you, right? And then David's like, okay, what if you found your maker and he said that same thing, right? Like, what if they just made you because they can make you? And there's so much, I think this is like, I love the synthetics, and I think a lot of that comes from the David and then the Walter stuff is because of Michael Fassbender and that incredible relationship with him and his kind of growth in the kind of synthetics relationship with the other characters and their search for, like, they're kind of looking for their humanity and him kind of not having those desires to find those things, and then him kind of, there's so much him, like, there's like synthetic kind of learning and reacting to that of this human desire to find out of like who God is.
Well, and this with
it's
David,
ridiculous.
it's like also this human desire to be like, I hate you. It's like, I hate
Yeah.
God. If God's real, I hate him. It's like that kind of
exactly. And it's there. I don't know. It's so crazy because it again feels like the biggest movies ever. But even like the other things, like those are very much like these genre pictures. These movies feel massive in terms of like, I don't know. It's like the craziest shit ever. And yeah, I don't know. That's all.
I feel like we should. I feel like we should transition to Covenant only because we're kind of talking about them in pairs.
You know, it's tough because they go together. Like,
yeah. So Covenant follows up Prometheus.
Yes.
It's
again,
like it is directed by Ridley Scott.
A direct sequel that was written in a way so that it could be marketed as a standalone film.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, because they kind of do a little Aliens or Alien 3 thing because no one's coming back, baby.
Yeah.
They kill everyone off screen.
Which we didn't say this. Covenant has kind of like an all-star fucking cast. It is Charlize Theron, like Michael Fassbender, Charlize Theron, Naomi Pierce, Idris Elba.
Well, actually, I say
like, Idris Elba, Catherine Waterston, Danny McBride.
The person they kill off cast is Naomi Rapace, is Elizabeth Shaw. But everyone else dies
in the movie. Yeah.
Guy Pearce is in it. James Franco is in one scene.
Well, James Franco is in Covenant.
2 scenes, buddy.
2 scenes. Sorry.
In Covenant.
I'm talking about Covenant.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Prometheus, so.
I know. Okay.
We just added James Franco to Prometheus.
Right. Yeah. We're on Covenant. is what I was saying. Sorry, I got
Yeah,
distracted because
no,
I was
okay, it's
looking
okay,
at
it's okay.
Covenant and I didn't
Yeah,
realize that
no,
we
it's
were
fine. James Franco was
listing
in two
people from
scenes.
Prometheus.
James Franco dies at the beginning of Covenant, and this is the first and only Alien movie really got made after Tony Scott's passing, and then you start with a a member of the crew passing away and them dealing with that, and I always thought that was a really interesting opening to the film in terms of like we've established these chambers and people die in them, and that's the thing that happens, and then to start the movie and then kind of dealing with that, and the crew, I think they don't have their leader anymore, and they have to kind of go on this adventure without their leader, and I really love that opening of the film. It's such an I know it gets poked fun at a lot because they just kill James Franco in like a scene in the movie, but I think in terms of like a setup and like an interesting like meeting our characters and them dealing with something like this like emotional to start out the movie, I really love. But yeah, Covenant is very fascinating. We start off with we get a Walter who is like a synthetic who looks exactly like David,
Yes, it's the same model as David. Yeah.
which is
Um,
really it's really fun. I don't know because there is that they've established that kind of element of the synthetics for years, and like they can look like
and he's
similar people.
doing a
Well, I don't know.
silly
Have they
voice.
ever established that they can look like the same guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in so Bishop is the artificial person in Aliens, and then in Alien 3, Bishop is like the human Bishop comes in at the end.
No, I know that, but it's like he's not. I'm thinking like there's one synthetic and there's two synthetics, and they look the same. I guess like we know that's probably the case.
I
But,
think
like,
that's what they're hinting at with the Bishop thing.
okay. I like that concept a lot.
Is that because he modeled it after himself?
Yeah,
he
so there's
could
probably
make more than
multiple
one
of him. That
them,
makes sense.
yeah.
It's really. I love the concept of following the synthetics, and there's kind of this thing where you have like, I mean, Noomi Rapace and Catherine Waterston are great, but
Mhm.
you kind of have this element of like these like Sigourney Weaver stand-ins that are like really great but not, and it's like you're not going to replace Sigourney Weaver, so instead of having like this like lead actress be your next Sigourney Weaver, you have the lead of this like wanting to be trilogy be Michael Fassbender synthetic, and
Mhm.
I think that's like so sick. He's so like Michael Fassbender, incredible actor. He's so good in these movies, but like I think
Yes.
it's such a smart thing to be like, hey, we're gonna do this prequel, and the lead of the prequel is going to be a synthetic. I think
Yeah.
it makes the world like huge. I think it makes it a lot more interesting as well.
Yeah. And bro, the setup for Covenant is so interesting because it is a colonizer mission, like a colony mission with like
Yep.
thousands of couples.
Yeah.
That are specifically thousands of couples, and Ridley Scott
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I think it's an interesting idea to have them all be couples, that
So
are
I can
like,
kill them all.
yeah, that is, and they're scouting planets, and they
Places to live.
find the fucking Prometheus planet."
Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous. But it's also again goes back to that kind of truck driver thing of the first one. It's like these guys are just looking for a home. Like it's
Mhm.
like these are just normal people. They're looking for a place to live.
And they happen to run into the only genocidal robot in the universe.
Yes. Well, also it's like there's interesting like thing where it's like when you have Prometheus and people are like there's no xenomorphs in this movie. There's kind of this element of Covenant where it's like okay, here's your damn xenomorphs, but it's used in a way of like these people are dumb and they're gonna make these mistakes, and they're gonna make these mistakes, and now you have to watch them make these mistakes, and I'm going to have all these couples and these characters, and I'm going to fucking kill them to show that these people are stupid, and like to show kind of David's point of view of like him hating humans and humans are dumb, and just like fucking kill them, and like it's coming, and they're gonna make the mistakes because you've seen these mistakes before, right? You've seen this kind of formula play out, and now it's like in spite of these people, and you have to watch that, and this is like again, this feels so big because this is like that real like slasher or horror movie stuff, but it's also this crazy big space movie where Michael Fassbender kisses himself. It's like the craziest movie ever made.
Which rocks.
It's so cool. This is this is the movie of all time. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It's
It's
so
very
sick.
awesome. Yeah, I will say this: Covenant, Prometheus is kind of silly in its plot. Covenant is, if Prometheus is silly, Covenant's dumb. But it's very fun though. It is a blast.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
There are so many lines in this movie. It's like, oh, dude, they talk in quotes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It
it is
oh,
very
man.
ridiculous.
It's so
It's
ridiculous.
so,
It's
and
so
Danny McBride
awesome.
is in it playing a character named Tallahassee.
No, it's
Oh, it's Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee.
He's got his
Yeah.
fucking cowboy hat.
Tallahassee is from Zombieland.
Yes, from Zombieland.
No, yeah, it's Tennessee. And he got his cowboy hat on. It's so
Yeah,
awesome.
he kind of he's kind of my favorite. Every time he shows
He's
up, I'm just
so
like, I
good.
fucking love him. That's what I mean, though. It's like this is kind of the prime example of what I was talking about with the first one, where like just like putting Danny McBride in this movie and like just having him be Danny
perfect,
McBride. I see him and I'm just like, yeah, that's my favorite character, and I don't have to know anything about him.
Well,
I'm like, I love that guy.
that's an element of these movies, like that the horror movie model since Halloween has been, hey, shove a lot of teenagers in this movie and kill the
Yeah.
teenagers. With Alien, we'll get to that. With with Alien, the cool thing was it was like shove all these middle-aged like character actors in this movie and kill those guys.
Yeah.
And it was like it's such a cool thing. It's like Danny McBride is not going to be like a slasher character in a new horror movie, but he fits so
Right.
perfectly in like this alien world of like a guy who's just like trying to find a place to live, and you have Billy Crudup, and it's there's
Yeah.
so many
Oh,
people.
Billy's great as well.
He's
I
so
like him
good.
a lot. Yeah.
He's so good.
I like him every time he shows up in anything. Like when I see, he's another one of those people
No,
where like I just
he's
see
one
him
of
and
my
I'm like,
favorite
yeah, I'm rooting for
actors
that guy.
working. He's so good in this movie because James Franco is supposed to be the leader of the group, and he dies, and then Billy Crudup's like next in command, and he is like the believer of the group, and he has this faith, and he has this really interesting character, and he's trying to like kind of keep everyone together, but people are dying under his watch, and he kind of ultimately has made the decision that they're going to go here and look if there's going to be things here, and that people are dying because of his faith. Basically, he was like,
Yeah.
okay, my faith is leading me to this place.
He's
And
kind of an
ultimately,
incompetent leader.
yeah, his faith leads him to his death, and the people around him to die. And I don't know, there's so much going on in terms of like its commentary, and again, it's for me, it's like we start with Alien, and then it's like, okay, years later, if you can use the success of Alien to make any movie ever, and you're like, let's make this giant space movie slasher, but we're also like asking like existential questions, and it's like this crazy. I don't know. It's beautiful. I love when they're on that like wheat area, and they're in the like, and they have these like really sick like outfits. It's so space.
Yeah.
It's so space movie.
I love space
it's
movies.
like,
yes.
Space movies rock. Okay. Space movies are so cool.
Yeah.
But space like horror movie mega budget thing with Danny McBride in it, just not a movie that exists anywhere else.
That's the big thing that Ridley Scott, whenever he talks about Prometheus or Covenant, it's so funny because he comes from this perspective where he's like, man, they made 3 more Alien movies after the one that I directed, and nobody asked where the xenomorph came from, and he's just like so shocked by that because he's like, that's the only interesting question to him.
It's a logical place to go, and it's like that when you say like the story feels like it's done at 3, and like it's like, okay, that's the end of Ripley's story. Now, what's the next story? It's like it's the Wayland, and it's the xenomorphs. It's like that's it. It's the xenomorphs, and it becomes it's the engineers, and it's David, right? And it's like we don't even. It becomes like the xenomorphs become like this, like the lesser thing. It's like, okay, it's about where they come from, but then the engineers and David become even more interesting than the xenomorphs themselves. That was always the thing. Was like, I'm not even worried about where the xenomorphs are right now because the engineers and David, like this shit's so awesome. That's like a side part of this. It's like the alien aspect of it is like the side part of the movie. It's like it's cool when like it's like cool when it comes in, it kills people, but it's like all the David stuff and the engineer dudes that look like fucking Squidward, and that shit is that's so cool.
It looks like the statue of David.
No, they're like handsome Squidward buff dudes. It's sick.
They
It's so
It's
awesome.
also an interesting idea where like Wayland is so like preoccupied with this idea where he's like this very selfish idea of um who made us, like where are
Mhm.
our gods, like if
Yeah.
I need to go face our gods and he needs to give me eternal life, when
Yeah, yeah, like
really
he owes the give me
yeah,
that, right?
when really he kind of accidentally in that strife he kind of made god in a way, like David
Mhm.
and like these robots, like they're so greater than humans, they don't really die, and
Yeah.
it's like and they have this power to just like kill off entire races and species, you know.
Mhm.
It's like
Well, it's so interesting because he's like old as shit and he's like holding on to his last days, basically,
mhm.
like waiting for something to allow him to kind of live forever. And like his like greed, like directly is like ruining the universe in terms of like all the shit that happens later. And he's such an interesting character, especially like it's crazy as fuck to be like, hey, Guy Pearce, you're gonna play this really fucking old guy, and then in the next movie you're gonna be young for like a scene. It's so sick. And it works. It really does work. But it builds the world up so much because Wayland, like that Utani, like that stuff is so that's such a part. Like the corporation is such a part of this franchise as like an identity, and when you add all this stuff, like I don't know, it's super like lore. These movies are like super like lore based, and
Yeah,
it's like super like silly, like
well
crazy, like
there's like
expansion of the universe. But it's
jokes
like
that Prometheus is so hard to understand, you need like a book that explains
yeah,
everything, like
it's so crazy. I don't know because it's like again going back to like self-contained, monster movie on in spaceship, and then it's like super big lore prequels, and we're like traveling space, and that's like it's the craziest thing ever.
yeah, it's like
Um,
the starting point is like, oh man, what if there was an alien on a spaceship that killed all the people? And then it's like the ending point is like, what if we fucking found God and he hated us? And it's like
yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. It's like that's the thing. It's like you have that movie, and it's like this is how we get in. It's how we make a movie on a budget, and this is how we make a movie in the '70s. And like we're young, right? And now we have this kind of blank check almost. It's like now we're going to like ask these like I don't know. It's the most that Prometheus, and then like Covenant is like an extension of it, and it's like sad because we don't have the other ones. But it's like these are like the
Right.
most check feeling movies sometimes because like really Scott going like ape shit and like God hates us.
yeah,
Yeah.
Prometheus especially really feels like a blank check. Like go do your fucking thing, dude. Um
Yeah, it's so sick. And
uh
then
Um.
they hated them.
it is cool.
Bef- oh,
Oh,
sorry.
I
They
just
What
wanted
did
hated
you
to,
say?
them.
all the last thing I want to say about Prometheus was that H.R. Giger Scott released, he had like was super old and had been retired for a while at this point, but he
Mm-hmm.
brought H.R. Giger on out of respect, just because he's like, yeah, all of this is based off of like your design of the space jockey, so like what do you think about all these new designs basically. He like
Right.
brought H.R.
I say,
Giger
why does Waylon look like me?
in. What does Wayne look like me?
The last thing I was gonna ask, because Owen's just kind of hinted at it before we move on to Romulus, was just like the whole never happened trilogy kind of
Yeah,
situation. If you guys want to talk about that
I
before we
mean,
move on to the new one.
a lot of that has to do with Disney buying Fox,
Mhm.
right? So that this Covenant came out in 2017, which was 7 years ago, and then I don't know the exact year that acquiring happened, but Ridley Scott was working on a sequel, and then Disney bought Fox, and then they were like, we're gonna do a TV show, and we're gonna make this like reboot kind of thing that still is,
Disney bought Fox in 2019.
so 2 years
Yeah, it's
after.
not great timing.
I
Yeah,
mean, he started working on it, and it wasn't like the financial hit of the year or anything.
yeah,
And Disney, they like to make
Yeah,
money decisions.
yeah, yep.
they do that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well that brings us to Alien Romulus, the new release in theaters this past weekend.
It is in
The newest
theaters right
Alien
now.
movie. Well,
Yeah,
right.
they
I'm
didn't
saying
leave. That'd be weird.
yes. I
It's
meant
like
it
a big
released
hit.
in theaters this past
Yeah, it's like
weekend.
it's doing good. I
Yes,
mean,
it made $108 million its opening weekend.
That's very
Um,
good.
Yeah, that is a good number. And it's Alien Romulus,
directed by
and
Fede Alvarez.
directed by Fede Alvarez. And the spoiler, I
80 million.
guess, which we hinted at before, is that it's not the greatest.
Yeah.
movie.
That's a spoiler.
No, I mean, I'm gonna defend the movie, not defend the
defend it.
movie. I'm gonna just be
Defend
like
Ian
the
Holm.
resident. I'm gonna be the resident like guy who doesn't hate the movie. It's like a
This movie-
situation. What was that
this
movie
movie
that Doug
made
gave
me
2
depressed.
stars and we acted like he loved it? What was the movie that whole thing
It's like
happened
every
with?
movie I give 2 stars.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna be that
all the
guy for
Marvel
this movie
movies,
because
yeah.
I don't like hate it, but I still think it's the worst Alien movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you guys kind
Better
of
go
hate it.
spoil the
Alien
fucking
Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez, is a Disney movie.
This is a true sentence.
Fede Alvarez made a Disney movie. If that sounds appealing to you, then you're gonna fucking rock. Here's the thing. I'm confused. Before we even really get into the fucking weeds of this, people are really liking this movie.
Yep.
Broadly speaking.
And you're confused by that?
Yeah.
I'm not, and here's why. There's gonna be like, I would guess, and this isn't true for people we know on the internet, like on Letterboxd or TikTok or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would guess like 70% of people watching this movie are like a generation of people who have not watched previous Alien movies, because Prometheus and Covenant are like kind of disconnected to them. And then like the last one before that is
most people have
Resurrection, which
seen
nobody
1 and
thinks
2.
about. Sure, but
It's
like,
like-
is that most people though?
No,
That's
I'm
not like
saying,
the
like,
average.
it's
Like
like
the average
most-
young person is not watching.
I'm
a movie
saying
from
like they either have
1979
not
and
seen any of
fantastic.
them, or they've seen 1
or
and
they've seen
2.
the first 2, right? In which case, like, if you're like the average person and you haven't, like, this is like a movie that is made to like introduce a new generation to the idea of alien movies.
Which is
But
ridiculous.
there's like a lot of
But there's so much reference to the previous movies, but like in a way where if you've never seen any of them, then you're probably just gonna think it's like its own thing.
some of
Minus
the
like,
references don't make any fucking sense if you haven't seen the movies. Though.
this is true. I mean, the one line that they pull from Aliens, the
Get away from
fucking
her, you
iconic-
Get away.
Yeah, that one probably is a little bit weird if you've never seen Aliens.
Oh, he's
like,
he's kind of has that
and-
vibe to him. He's just odd.
yeah.
No,
That dude,
he
that dude
does
just says
it.
a lot of weird shit. I don't
But
know.
no, I mean that's my theory as to why the average person is really
I
like
had,
it.
I had one
Why
of my
are
friends.
Why are the
said-
people I
he was
follow
like,
on
this is
Letterboxd
the
liking it?
scariest one. People like it. Why do you say?
I mean, I don't know,
Why
from
people
my
are following on
perspective-
Letterboxd liking it.
Yeah,
I
Jesse,
think
and Aiden, both 2 people that have been on our podcast, both
I'm
really
gonna
like
be
this
honest
movie.
with you. As much as I love our dear pal Jesse,
Oh jeez.
you don't have to. It's like,
That's
like,
horrible. I'm
why are
sending
you
him this
asking
clip.
why he likes this movie?
I'm sending
Like,
him
it's
this
like, you
clip.
know why he likes the movie.
Kaylee Spaney.
Oh,
Like, it just
man.
makes sense that
That
Jesse
horny
likes the movie.
motherfucker.
Like, it's like, I'm
That
like,
dude
what
needs to
are,
be put
like, what are we
down.
talking? You mean Jesse likes the movie? Yeah, of course.
That guy.
Okay, listen, I think I'll say the one like big positive I have,
You
because
gotta talk
everything
about
else
this movie
is
in
kind of
general.
whatever. And I'll be honest, there's gonna be a lot of Kaylee Spaney talk as a result of this movie.
Doug hates
She's
that.
just
girl
like
so
a
much.
good actress who is
Just
just
like-
like doing her job in this one. Like I'm not like blown away by her in it. I really don't like. I don't. It's not like anything I didn't know already. Like if you've seen Priscilla, you're not gonna watch this movie and be like,
Oh yeah. I mean,
oh, Kaylee Spaney's a revelation. You're gonna be like, yeah, that's Kaylee Spaney who was just in Priscilla. Like
And Priscilla
David
is
Johnson, on the other
better.
hand, best part of the movie by far to me. I'm
Yeah.
like, I watch that guy and I'm like, that I love him and he's a star. And I hope that this is like a thing and not just, it seems like they've been kind of like, I mean, he did Rye Lane, which is like a movie that nobody watched on
Yeah.
streaming, but at least
This
at
is
least
the
he's
big thing.
at least he's a lead. And then Industry, this show that he is a main recurring character in, is just
got
like
canceled.
blowing up right now. Season 3, the season that's like currently airing right now, has like increased in viewership significantly after season 2. So he's like a main character in that show.
Mhm.
So he's like becoming a familiar face, and then he does big alien blockbuster movie
Yeah, and
where he's the second lead and
the star of the
steals the
movie.
show.
Yeah.
So
That was-
and he has a lot of upcoming projects.
Yeah.
and he rocks. Like I loved him in this movie. I was
Yeah.
like, he's fucking amazing, and it truthfully it makes the movie very watchable. Like I'm
If
like
he wasn't in this
because of how much
movie,
he's in it, it's very
like,
watchable. Yeah, it would be a pretty difficult movie to get through if he's not there.
Alien Romulus is about Kaylee Spaney and Andy, who
Yes.
is played
yes,
who's what's Kaylee Spaney's character's name? Fuck.
Rain, Rain.
Rain. Yeah, it's
She is.
Rain and Andy.
They made Ray in Star Wars, and now Rain is the alien Ray.
And they live on a mining planet, a planet
Yeah.
just for mining.
That has like eternal nighttime.
Yeah, it's
always nighttime.
It's always nighttime. The sun never
seen the sun.
You can never see the sun, and it's basically like a prison. Where you're
Right.
not allowed to
leave.
leave.
She tries to get like a permit to travel, and
they
they're
just like fucking
boom, you got to
changed
work
the-
for another 12,000 hours or whatever they say.
That
I
was
would kill
ridiculous.
myself in front of her on the spot.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm done. I'm done
It's
after
like,
that.
dude.
It's like it's cool that she just like conveniently had a friend group who was like, yeah, what if we ditch this place? But
Yeah.
Yeah, I
otherwise
was
I'd
interested in the
I'd be dying
rules
on
of
the
that
spot.
situation because she was like, "Oh, I need."
Because they're just
this
like, yeah, they can't
like,
leave, but they're just like
exist,
allowed to like
but then they
fly
just-
these ships that they own.
I don't think they're
just
allowed to
like,
fly the ships of their own. I think they would have gotten in
Oh,
trouble if
okay.
they got one back down.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they do kind of say that,
But it's
I
like
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if they meant that they get in trouble.
I
just
guess
for
it's just
flying
really
it, or if they
hard
meant if they
to
get in
get-
trouble for going. To
obviously
the,
they like can't get
abandoned ship.
anywhere. If that's their problem, it's like they can't.
Yeah, they don't
get
have enough
anywhere.
like fuel using that thing to get far enough to like another planet.
No,
or
it's
something.
no. It's that they need to hypersleep because the planet's 9 years
Right,
away,
right,
and they don't have
yes,
like
yes,
they
yes,
would
yes.
die from
Yeah.
starvation.
That's
yeah,
true.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. It's
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, I think the setup genuinely is
That
like
was-
the first act of the movie. I'm like, oh, maybe the people hating are like a little crazy. I'm kind of like
was
buying
actually
into it.
in that space too. I was like, oh, this might be fine. I was like,
Yeah.
because I like Kaylee Spaney as an actress. I'm like, oh, Andy, I'm rocking with Andy, right? Andy's
Yeah.
funny. He's like really. I liked Andy. I like synthetics. I don't know. You
I don't like how
Andy?
Andy is written. I don't like how the character with special needs needs to be a robot.
Right.
Yeah,
well, what
I
I was
was
going
like-
to
it
say,
was a little,
I was
like-
actually going to bring this up because I think if Andy is not played by David Johnson, I would like really hate the dynamic. Like I think if Andy was played by
Mhm.
somebody else who can't pull it off as well as he does,
Yeah.
then I would have thought more about how I don't like that that's the core relationship of the movie.
Mhm.
But because David Johnson is so fucking brilliant in it, I'm
Well,
just
my
like, yeah,
issue-
love
like,
that guy.
I like the setup, and then I was like, oh, they never really like the build off of that like relationship is like not like they don't really do a lot with it that I like care
Yeah,
about.
I
But
will say
was
I do
like-
think it's like an interesting idea to be like, oh, this is my synthetic brother who I love, and also I'm gonna abandon
no,
him for a better life. Like that concept is interesting on paper.
I think it's the most interesting like use of synthetics. I mean, since I don't know when, but like obviously you have the David stuff, but like he's a really cool, like interesting use. Like I don't know, Ian Holm in the original, then you have the Bishop, and then it's like, you know, but I think Andy is interesting, and he's like a vital part of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they go up to that big ship, Romulus and Remus there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
The other characters are really hollow.
Bad.
And
they are there
shelling
to
and,
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like.
It's like, hey, this is my brother, and this is his cousin, and this is.
Well, and this is Kevin kind of alluded to this earlier, where
Yeah.
there's one of the characters that doesn't like Andy, that is just like a fucking
I
bully
hate
to
that
him.
part.
There's
He's
a
just like being
racist
like
guy.
he's
He's,
being
like,
super, and then
Comically evil though. Like,
Yes.
it's like
He's
no,
from
I've
Africa.
never even there's not even a bully in existence who bullies like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm like that. Like it's so he's so annoying
yeah, it is like
in a way that like
cartoon. He has like he's cartoonishly
Yeah.
racist.
What's
Right,
like Disney
and-
Channel racism?
And
yeah, and it's annoying too because like I want to watch these people die, but like not like that. Like it's like you're trying so hard to make me hate him that I'm just like at that
Well,
point
I
I don't even
shouldn't
care.
wanna. I don't know. I shouldn't want to hate all the people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like I want to feel bad when people die, and even if there's like a character in the other movies where it's like that's a person who deserved to die, it's not like cartoonish. Like it's not like you like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like you're I just didn't I didn't care at that point. I was like whatever. This guy's gonna die, and of course he's gonna die because they're just setting him up to die, and it's fucking stupid.
We're gonna spoil the movie from here on out for sure. So if you don't want any
Yeah.
spoilers,
I
don't
mean,
listen.
saying that like the
Um,
fifth lead dies in the end.
Yeah, I know, but like we're gonna get into like actual,
but yeah,
but we're gonna get into
we are
actual
gonna get into
spoilers.
big spoilers. Yeah.
So yeah, there's this guy, but like this is one of the big problems with this movie, is that I think it's written poorly. And you alluded to this because there's this character and he does not like Andy at all. And it's like very over, it's very in your face. And then there's just this dialogue where Kaylee Spaney's like, "Oh, what's his problem with Andy anyway?" And they're like, "Well, you see, his a synthetic killed his mom in a mining accident 9 years ago, and ever since then he's had a grudge against synthetics." And it's like,
and Carrie
Worst line
Spaney's
in the
like,
movie.
"Oh, okay, that makes sense."
it's like
Worst part of the movie.
It's like, yeah, that is
like-
that's all subtext. You don't need to tell us
Yeah.
that. It's like we like it's
It's
like
so dumb.
doesn't
That's like
change
the
anything.
explaining thing that I was.
No, yeah,
complaining
it's like
about.
okay.
it's like, oh, so we knew, what do we know about this character? We knew that he didn't like Andy. What do we know about his character now? We know that he doesn't like Andy. You know, it's like you
Yeah.
didn't learn anything fundamentally. Like,
And he dies, and none of that matters, and
yeah,
Yeah.
and there's also,
well, I guess it does add the kind of it's attempting to not foreshadow, but add more to the text of like the conceptual idea of the synthetics having to make these tough choices that don't have like the human relationship part of it.
Yes,
It's like
that is
it's
true.
the
It does
part,
set that up.
it's a part later in the movie where it's like, hey, save her, Andy, and then she's like, no, I'm not gonna save her because if I save her, we're all dead. And he just like
Yeah.
watches her die, and
Mhm.
it's like that's the kind of it's like it's not written well, but that's the part like they're also trying to build to, is that
Yeah.
like the synthetic will
I
make
do like
these
that part.
decisions. Yeah, it's like the synthetic will make these decisions that humans would not. Like the human emotion would get in the way.
also for most of the movie, Andy even okay. Well, I need to explain too. Andy, they put like a ship in Andy that fixes his special needs.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, no, they use
They like
it
overlap.
from-
It's like the company Ian Holmes chip.
Yeah, it's like
Yes,
Ian Holmes'
yes.
chip, and it overrides him, and it's kind of
Yeah.
it's a
And then he
little
becomes
ridiculous.
like evil.
Yeah, well, is that
We've already said his name too. We could talk about the Ian Holm thing if you.
well? No, the
'Cause it's
Ian
like-
Holm thing is just like it's okay. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's
Let's
talk
talk because
about
we need to talk about it.
it.
It is fucking terrible, and I'm gonna say remove yourself from whatever moral grandstanding or whatever like it is bad to just revive dead actors, whatever like opinions like that. Put that aside for a second, and let's just be super objective. It is fucking terrible because it is ugly as shit.
It looks like horrible.
a
It looks
Snapchat
so-
filter. It is
it
the
looks
most
so
baffling,
bad.
horrible. Like
It looks like my fucked up camera right now.
every single person involved.
Kevin looks
with,
like dead Ian Holm right now.
every single person involved with making that a part of the film should be so fucking embarrassed. Should be so embarrassed that
Yeah.
they should want to like remove their names from the fucking credits of the movie. That is how bad it looks. It is
Well,
the worst looking. It looks that alone looks worse than anything in Deadpool and Wolverine, and that is a terrible looking movie. Like it
It's
looks
so
it
crazy.
is so ridiculously cartoonishly terribly looking. Like I cannot overstate
Yeah.
how
It takes you out of the
ugly it is.
movie pretty immediately when you see it the first
Well,
time, and then
what
you
the
see it like
fuck?
8 more times.
It literally looks like a fucking Snapchat filter.
I might have moved on if he just showed up for the one scene and it was that bad, and then we got like the rest of the movie, and I like bought back in. But he just keeps showing up. And I'm
They
like, there's
keep
no
like
way that they
cutting to
thought this
these
was a
like
good idea.
fucking like I don't even
Like, there's no
they're,
way
like,
they think that
computer
10 minutes of
screen.
screen time for that thing is a good idea. I don't know who
Yeah.
thought.
Well, I mean, the whole like press and Fede Alvarez, like he kept talking about like, we're practicals and CGI sucks, and I build all these sets, and like I'm a real filmmaker and I do practical effects.
Yes, it is.
For him to say all that shit and then the movie come out, and then because like this rumor was around for months, and people were like, "Oh, this doesn't sound like a guy who would use like grave dig up Ian Holm and like CGI his head on. This doesn't sound like that guy because this guy, he's all practical, and I think that's his whole thing. Like he's selling the movie like this practical thing, and then you see the movie and it's like, oh, this is worse than I could have expected it, like ever expected it to be. It's really bad.
Yeah.
You know what looks way better than this? The fucking 2019 film The Irishman, where they de-age all
the
those
de-age.
old men. That, like, in The Irishman, it doesn't look good. It looks
Yeah.
kind of bad. It looks so much better than this because Ian
They're
Holm
alive.
is a dead guy. It's
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
and
dead.
and also, God. Okay, here's the thing too. I'm very frustrated because there's a lot of people that really like Alien Romulus, which is fine. Okay, I'm like, I understand. We're gonna get into like towards the end of the movie. There's stuff I kind of love about this movie towards the end.
Yeah.
But like, it is so minuscule compared to all the fucking problems with this film. But with this Ian Holm thing, right? There's a way to do. There's so many different things they could have done creatively to make it fit, and so many.
It's like people are acting like they were forced to put Ian Holmes' corpse in this movie. It's like,
I do not believe that. I like, and one, it doesn't fucking matter whether they were forced to or not because it's in the movie, right? We're judging the movie. We're not judging Fede Alvarez.
No,
as a
I
human
mean
being.
like not even the fact that it was like studio interference. Like people are like, oh, it like narratively, like it's just it makes sense. Like it had to be done. It's like,
no,
what
Yeah.
the
Because
fuck? Like,
also-
you did not have to be like writing the script and be like, okay, we're gonna bring back Ian Holmes' corpse and he's gonna be a big part of it.
Yeah.
Like that's did
we're
not have to happen.
we're Ridley Scott fans. It's seemingly this Ian Holm thing may or may not have been like a Ridley Scott idea. That's like seemingly
Sure,
from what Fede Alvarez has been saying.
Yeah,
Like it might have been Ridley Scott's idea to do it. Okay, it's still a terrible decision.
bad idea.
Like,
Yeah, I mean,
like,
he's
it's a
84.
bad idea.
He
Just
said he
like,
did a dumb thing. I don't know.
They're like doing it to go along with like all of the other references that they're making to previous movies. But then if that's like your whole thing is to like get people excited about previous movies, there are like 400 living actors from previous movies that you could
the guy
have,
that plays
like,
Bishop
their
is still
faces show
alive.
up.
Yeah, Bishop.
And it's
is
like,
still
I don't know, it's
alive.
not even that, like, don't get me wrong, it would be like the most annoying thing ever if like Sigourney Weaver shows up in like some video that they find on the ship or whatever. Like that would be fucking stupid. But like,
she's alive.
at least it wouldn't look like shit. Like
Yeah.
it would be the same level of annoying as them bringing Ian Holm back from the dead, and it would at least it would look normal, and I would be like, oh, weird that they did that, but now I could watch the rest of the movie.
So
You know?
there's the shot in the film before they do the full face reveal, which is it reminds me of like fucking Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is a terrible movie. Like really
Is that the
bad.
second one,
And
or is that the?
that's the first one. But because at
Okay,
the end of
like the new
Ghostbusters,
ones, I mean,
yeah, because at the end of Ghostbusters After's, oh my god,
Afterlife.
Ghostbusters,
Yeah, they bring back what's his name?
yeah, and it
as like a ghost type guy,
and it looks really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And
It
but
reminds me of those like we need to distract Kang like camera memes. It's like Ian Holmes' fucking CGI face.
but
It's like,
But in this film, right, there's the shot of Ian Holmes' robot. It's I don't even know what the name of the robot is because it's not Ash. Ash is the
Rook,
one
it's
from the
Rook.
Yeah,
it's-
he's
it's
playing a
Rook.
different
It's
character.
a-
That was part of Fede Alvarez's justification for it too. Is like you guys are gonna complain about this being like I don't know. He said something a lot.
it's not a fucking member berry, guys.
I'm rewording it, but it's like but essentially he was like, yeah, people are gonna get upset about this, blah blah blah. But the thing is we're using his face for a character that is not the character, and he's like, how is this different than when Gary Oldman played Winston Churchill? And I'm like,
What?
because he's like, because that's his logic is like Winston Churchill, real guy,
Yeah.
who they just like put another guy in makeup and made him look like Winston Churchill and made him play him. And then in this case, he's like taking a character from the previous movie and like bringing back a new character who's not that character, but just looks exactly like that character. Like he's using him to make it a character that looks like him, but he's not actually Ash. Like that's his like kind of
also just a reference to Bishop.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah, Rook and Bishop are both fucking chess pieces.
oh, dude, it's
But in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, second weekend in a row I'm referencing this movie.
oh, I did not hear that part of last week's podcast.
Yeah, in Mission
Neither
Impossible:
did
Dead
I.
Reckoning, there's there's a shot. It's a flashback scene where it's Ethan Hunt's young Ethan Hunt's around the time of the first movie is it's like he sees his wife die or spoilers I guess for Dead
classic
Reckoning.
Chris Nolan.
Spoilers for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. You should have already seen that movie. But in that scene, you only see Ethan Hunt's face from the side, and it's entirely in shadow. They don't like de-age or try to do anything. It's
Yeah.
entirely in the shadow. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's such like that is like a way to solve the problem, right?
Director solving problems.
Yeah.
Little Michael Jordan air action. Just do the back of his
Yeah,
head. Just be
yeah.
like, just have his voice and do the back of his head.
Well, the problem is,
He's like the third main character of this fucking movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Which then I told hold on. I told our friend Aiden this, but I think that because
Aiden, regular guest on the pod.
he is a regular guest on the pod.
Aiden, supporter of grave robbing.
We're because we were talking about
Shout
how
out
one of the
Lacamera.
problems that we both have with the film is that it's just young actors, unlike all the
Yeah.
all the other Alien films where like there's like really great older actors in it. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, boom, we could like just like kill two birds with one stone. This movie's instantly better. Rook is played by Richard E. Grant. Just imagine that.
Mhm.
The movie's instantly better, like way better.
Yeah.
Right.
And no one would.
You know what I will say? You know what I will say about the young cast though? And I'm like, this is like a half compliment. It's one of the only things in the movie that is like a new idea. Like the whole movie is just ripping off other movies, and it's like at least they like were
But
like,
it's
oh,
like
what if we bring in a young cast so it's like a fresh thing? Like
it's a new idea.
it's not good. It
Alien,
would be
but it's
better if it
also
wasn't
just like,
them.
oh, this is like it's just a slasher thing.
Yeah.
It's like but it's like also it's like, oh, this is like something that makes Alien unique. Let's like not do. I don't know. It's part of me is like, oh, it's fun, but also it's like the kind of it's like what makes Alien so alien is that it's like, oh, you have these middle-aged women like fighting monsters.
Yeah.
It feels like they took Alien and ran it through, like they made a young
It's
adult
like
adaptation of
YA,
it.
yeah.
Like a YA
Well,
adaptation.
it's like the Disney.
It does feel kind of
it's
like a Maze Runner
Disney-ify.
movie.
It's like
Yes,
for
exactly.
Disney. It's like for
It feels
young
like Maze Runner.
audiences. It's for people who like talk to me. It's like, oh,
Right.
here's the Alien movie for that audience,
Right.
which is like.
How did you guys feel about Isabella Merced, who she plays the pregnant?
Yeah, she
one
gives
in this
birth to
movie?
Victor Wembanyama. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like her. I like her. I like her.
I saw someone saying that. Someone was like, "Man, we should take this guy and just throw him on the court." Like he's like,
Yeah,
at
well, he
least
kind
at
of
the very least, he's gonna block shots.
he has like Nikola Jokic face with like Wemby's body.
No,
so,
who's
like,
that
I
like
don't know, like
8-foot
it's-
tall high school basketball player from like
Oh yeah,
8 years
I know
ago?
who you're
That poor
referencing,
kid, that
but
poor kid.
yeah. Anyway, sorry, we were saying Isabella Merced.
Yeah, I like her.
Yeah, she seems like I don't know. Well, that's the thing is like I think the fun thing
I don't
is
know.
a
It's
weird
like
term
she's
because fun is
fine.
probably not the right word.
But what are you saying, Kevin?
No. I'm saying the idea with the young cast that is like a semi-fun thing is I think from their perspective, it's like get a bunch of like up and comers, and then when people watch this movie in 10 years and look back, they're gonna be like, oh damn, all these guys turned into stars. Like
But the
it's like, and
problem
then you
with
get
this
like
movie
excited
is-
about watching
The
them.
problem with that is you're gambling.
Of course,
And
yeah.
with and
I'm saying that I'm not saying that's how I view it. I'm saying that's like
I don't know.
idea
It's like
behind it.
you're gambling, and also it's like these people need to be good in this movie, right? It's like
Right.
I don't care. It's like they might get better, but it's like I need them to be good in this movie. And it doesn't help when they're written so poorly and like they're not given anything to really do. Because even Kaylee Spaney, like the lead of the movie, she's doing all Kaylee Spaney can do, and like she's the lead of the movie, so she's given a good amount, but like she's not given enough, really. It's like she's not given a lot to do.
Man, people are gonna hate this episode, bro.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think we're saying anything like that.
Well, but it's the thing is, it's
controversial.
like when you the kind of element of the franchise is like, oh, we're gonna have all these great character actors, and then we're gonna have these young kids that it's tough. It's really tough, and the kids have to be really good. And I just
yeah,
and it's like
I don't think the writing
is not
supports
helping
them
at all.
But I do think they were trying to make smart bets on who they picked. I think like Isabel, like these are all people who they like thought would be something. Like
Sure, I'm
David
sure
Johnson
they
is
didn't cast
already
them and be like, "Oh, these guys suck."
yeah.
But, like,
No, but no, but you know what I mean. I'm like, there's like, I'm like, the
no,
blueprint
sure,
is there. Like David Johnson is like already starting to build up in terms of potential. Like Isabella Merced already
but it's
starting to
like
like become more
it's an
popular.
$80 million movie.
Yeah,
You couldn't.
I get it.
It's like
Yeah,
it feels like
All that money
a
went
cast
into
for,
making the practical xenomorph
and they ran
puppet.
money in, and they had
yeah.
CGI Ian Holm, and then they had
Um,
who's who in the cast.
Do we want to talk about the third act, which I think is the part that Doug was referring to as like good stuff in the movie? Because I kind of
yeah,
agree.
I like that stuff. I will say though, we alluded to this, but the fact that there are characters in this movie that are just saying lines from other alien movies is also, in my opinion, irredeemable and
It's
Yeah,
garbage.
makes
It's
it's
it
like
so
actual
garbage.
garbage.
Yeah,
it's like
Like,
slop.
yes.
It's so bad, and it's so like weird because it has like the Marvel like stepping through the portal Spider-Man feel, where it's like there's like he like says the line and then there's like a laugh
yeah,
moment. It's like, or not laugh,
It reminds me
I
of the
don't know, there's a
fucking
weird
Paul
like,
Rudd Ghostbusters movies,
it's
yeah.
so
which
weird.
everybody agrees are garbage. Granted, they're not as well made as
Yeah, I mean, like
this
this movie
is.
is like, like real director, like
Yeah,
there's like the elements are
But
there.
that's the sad part about it. It's like
Yeah,
that's like this movie is really depressing because it's like it's a new alien movie from this like horror director, and then it's like it's so like through the machine and Disneyified, and
yeah,
it's like, oh damn, like we're never getting another one of these that is like good. It's like it's
yeah. It's
over.
even sadder because it's like
It's
I
so
like that
over.
Evil Dead movie. Like it's like, and that's like another franchise thing. Like it's like
Hmm.
I like the Evil Dead movie. I think it's cool, and it's like I like how he made it his own
Yeah.
thing, and it's like a totally different thing from the Evil Dead movies that came before it. It's like super violent, which is like I guess
Yeah.
like his brand kind of.
the thing
And
with
then he makes this one, which is another franchise movie. So you're like, oh, this is like on paper great logic, and then it's just like not anything like that Evil Dead
but
movie.
imagine this, right? It's the Evil Dead remake from 2013. What if this was the Alien remake from 2024, starring Kaylee Spaney, and it was just straight up like the same plot as Alien, but it was directed by Fede
Yeah,
Alvarez?
would be sick, and the kills would be
Yeah,
fucking
it would be
awesome.
cool.
Maybe
It
I
would be
don't like. I
Well,
cool.
mean,
I think
there's some
it'd
gnarly
be
moments in this
interesting if they
one.
did like a in terms of like direction of the franchise. It'd be interesting if they did a sort of like Rob Zombie Halloween thing where it's like you remake the first one but you do something different, like, because it's like in terms of like Sigourney Weaver's stuff is done, like it's like don't do that, don't touch that, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like you have the prequel stuff, and it's like either like you can make, I think the idea of like a self-contained separate story with just aliens attacking these people is like it's a fine idea. It's like you have to add something else to make it interesting. That's the big issue with this. It's like, okay, the aliens are attacking.
Yeah.
Okay, like it's like,
You don't
okay,
that's what I really hated about it, is that the
it's
movie
like,
doesn't have anything because it's not just like them remaking the first movie, but it is them saying all of the same things as the first movie. So
exactly,
like when you watch it, you're like, "Oh, the company is evil." And it's
yeah.
like,
Well,
yeah, that's the point. Like at least Prometheus and Covenant like throw all that stuff at you
mhm.
that we were talking about, but this one doesn't do that. It
Well,
just and it's like if you're gonna restate the ideas from the first one, yeah, like remake the first one. I mean, it's been
yeah,
45 years. It's like I don't like the idea of doing it, but it's like if you were
yeah.
gonna do it
I'm not
anyway,
like,
it would be better than
it's
this.
like
So
it's
it's
like a
like why
weird like
not? Like
fake remake. But I was like, when I was talking about Alien 3 earlier, it's like Alien 3 has those slasher beats. Like the xenomorph is coming and they're gonna kill these people, and that's the movie, right? But there's so much else to that movie that makes it a great movie.
yeah,
Where it's like this movie, it's like, oh, we have the beats and we're gonna do all the other shit too. And it's like this
yeah.
it's like this weird,
I just wish it said anything. That's what bothers
exactly.
me.
It's like
I'm
it's
like, if
not,
if the movie had something to like something interesting about it that make, because that's the thing is like all of these other movies, all these other sequels are like, how do we use the formula of the first movie to like make it
make
effective, and then what do
make
we do
whatever
that
movie we
strays
want to
from
make.
that formula that makes it different? And this movie
Yeah.
is like, let's use the formulas from all of the movies and not stray at all.
Yeah, I've
It's a
seen
weird,
some really crazy takes. Like, I've seen multiple people that really love this movie saying, like, this is like the most alien movie it's been in so long. And this is like, if you don't like this, then you don't like Alien. And it's like, are you talking about the first movie? Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about? It's like,
Because
Well,
every movie,
Alien
that's what I'm
is
saying.
the
Every other
Alien
movie
franchise is
strays in
so
an
many
interesting
things.
direction.
It's like
yeah.
Yeah, like the most alien thing to do is to make a movie that's different than the first one.
all you need
Like
is like
that,
a fucking xenomorph and a brunette chick, and then you're
yeah.
good, dude. It's like
Yeah,
that's the formula.
It's like when people with the Fast and Furious movies complain about how the movies aren't about racing anymore, and then you watch like the second Fast and Furious movie and you're like, these were never about
Oh
racing.
yeah.
Like it's like they were like it's like the first movie was about racing and then every other one was not about racing, and then 11 movies later they're like, damn, they don't make these about racing anymore. It's like, yeah, that was never the thing.
Yeah.
Like you have like weird nostalgia brain, and like that never happened. Like
Yeah, no, Fast and Furious 2 is like a car movie. That's also like not car, like
like a heist
a
movie.
heist movie.
Yeah, and it's like it's the same thing with this. It's like you have like that weird nostalgia brain for the first one. Like you want to like go back to basics, and it's
but
like
like, what the fuck does back to
Well, that's what
basics
people keep
mean?
saying.
Yeah.
That people
What
keep
does
saying
that
that back to
mean?
basics.
Like back to basics, bro. The second movie
Right.
is a James Cameron action movie. Like, what do you mean back
Exactly.
to basics?
So
Like,
so I think what they're literally saying, but that's what I'm saying. It's like I think what they really want is
They
to just
want that
make the
formula,
same first movie over again in the modern day,
and
which is like
that's like
okay.
that traditional like horror movie template. Is like we're just gonna keep the problem with is Alien is like not a typical horror movie, because like the typical horror movie sequel thing is like a slasher, really. It's like you have this bad guy and then he's just gonna keep fighting new types of people. It's like we're just gonna keep going to new groups and they're gonna get attacked by the same bad guy. But Alien doesn't really work like that. And like it's like when you just it's like Alien, there's so much of Alien is like discovering things and like learning things about this world, and like in terms of like the characters or whatever. It's like it's about like learning things, like the Prometheus and Covenant and all that stuff. It's like learning about this the whole world and kind of world building. And the Alien movie, you're like learning about the aliens, like how do they work and like what's this thing. And so when we have the Alien, like okay, we know how everything works. It's like it just becomes. It's not really like what the I don't know. That's not what the movies. It's like okay, we're just watching people just die.
yeah. Well, it's also the 3 Alien movie. Actually, really, all of them are about how the corporation wants to get the aliens so bad that it is
Yeah.
total disregard for human life, kind of. The prequels are less about that specifically, but it's like the same idea, really. And this, like, you could be like, oh, because there's that opening scene where it's like Wayland Corp is going into the Nostromo and finding like the whatever, I guess,
fucking ridiculous.
right? And it's like, oh, it's like that same thing, and it's like, I don't know. Like, what if I don't know. Like, what is this movie about, bro?
Yeah.
What the fuck
I
is
did
this
like
movie
the
about?
fucking what's that shit? The belt.
Belt?
I don't know what the fucking space term is, but like the fucking ring
Oh,
that they're about to.
the rings.
Oh,
Yeah, the
yes.
rings.
That
was very
is.
cool.
That was
I thought you
that
were
was
talking
some
about like a
cool
belt that
space
someone's
shit.
wearing.
No,
I'm like, yeah.
It was like they're
No,
about to
the
fucking.
scene where they're like crashing while like the stuff is happening, I
Yeah.
thought was pretty.
I was like,
fun.
oh, that's a
I'm
neat
like, that's a
fucking
cool-
space idea,
Yeah,
like a space movie
Yeah.
thing, where it's like the ring is they're about to fucking crash into the ring, and I was like, oh, that's kind of sick. And then like the ring was like there's like it's like sparkly, and there's like snow.
yeah,
Doug's freaking out. There's like snow on the fucking ring, and it's like sparkly.
yeah.
I'm like, this is cool space shit. But then
Yes.
it's like
That's what I mean. It's like I
Dude,
think
more
I
cool
think
shit.
I think you guys
Yes.
like I think from your perspective, it's like the stuff that's bad is so bad that it doesn't even make up for the stuff that's good. And from my
Correct.
perspective, I'm like, there's enough things there where I'm like, I see a good movie here.
it's just
when
such
I
a
watch it.
it's
I'm
so
just like,
sad. This movie is like
I
so
wish it was
depressing.
that. Yeah.
In terms
Like I
of,
see it there, and I'm like, I almost want to like believe in Fede Alvarez a little bit, if only it weren't for like, I don't know. Like I'm like, if this movie just like did something interesting, that which like okay, let me get to that part because that's like what I do want to talk
Yeah.
about, which is like the third act stuff that I think is like actually interesting. However, we already kind of saw the weird like humanoid alien idea in Resurrection, so like a lot of people are going to point to that being new.
Well,
but
we didn't
it's
even
like,
talk about that when we talked about Resurrection.
yeah, we didn't even talk
Yeah.
about that, but that's because we're just like kind of glossing over the movie.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
we already like saw that, and people are just like pretending it didn't happen, which makes sense because
They
it's
didn't
the
see
worst
that movie.
movie
They
and nobody
didn't see that
watches
movie.
it. And yeah. So that like for some people that's going to be like an interesting new idea, and it is really cool in this movie. And I think like even what leads up to it is cool. Like I think the whole like birth thing is gnarly and like hard to watch, and like I was on the edge of my seat a little bit. I I wish what I said, and I don't know if this is like a crazy take or whatever, but I'm like, I think it's a more interesting movie if what happened, like all that stuff, like the birth and then the humanoid thing, if that happened like 30 minutes into the movie and then the movie is about what happens after that, like that's the thing that's on the ship with them the whole time. That's a different alien movie, and probably you could like
Yeah. Yeah.
bring in some kind of idea
Well,
that
it's
about
new,
that we
something
didn't
new.
already have.
It's very
Because
cool.
Resurrection doesn't like really Resurrection has that
He's just like a
thing,
bat.
but it's
He's like
not
a
like
sad little puppy.
yeah, it's not like telling us anything about it. But it's like if this movie
This is like
started
some
with that
big
idea and
Wemby
then
Prometheus
expanded on it,
guy.
it's like a really interesting movie. Not just that, it's like he's kind of the guy to like take that and make it like a gnarly thing. Like it's like that one jump scare with it that people keep talking about.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, he's like a guy who can do these things. It's like if that was 30 minutes into the movie and we had this fucking weird ass thing walking around, it's like Fede Alvarez is the guy who can make like a fucking creepy ass, bloody ass like slasher with that thing, and it would be a totally different movie than any of the other Alien movies, and that would be interesting.
One of the
I
best
think.
set pieces of recent memory, this is very high praise, is when Kaylee Spaney is like outside of the ship on the hook after she blew the doors open.
She's in the fucking ring.
Like yeah,
Just,
like running
like,
away
over
from the alien, and it's like a bunch of handheld, and it's like she's just in fucking free space while her thing is crashing, running away from this alien. I'm like, that is so scary. Before the jump scare even happens, there's like her in the space, and it's like, oh my god, this is like claustrophobic, and this is like so fucking terrifying. That was so awesome. That was so awesome.
That's what I mean. That's like why I almost want to defend him, because I'm like, the guy has the talent and like he can do it. And it's like, that's what I mean. Like when I watch it, I'm like, which maybe makes you like the movie less because you know that there's a better movie possible. But I don't know. Like I see that and I'm just like, there's definitely
it
something
has
there,
its
and
moments.
I wish it existed.
It's so frustrating that this is like the state of like modern like
that's what I was gonna. So I had
movies.
like two questions to ask, and that was one of them because I knew how depressed Owen was after, and I was like,
Yeah, I literally like I was just like
I wanted to ask
staring at
you
like
to
the
like gauge
wall.
what this means about like blockbusters in the
I
future, or
was
just like
like
movies
literally
in the
like I just
future.
like my brain couldn't compute. And I was like
Yeah,
I watched this later than everyone else did. I was like away for a few days. So I kind of knew that it was like mixed and some people like really hated it. So I was going into it like fine. I'm going to I'm going to watch it whatever. And I was like and I liked it maybe a little less than I thought I would. But I just like left the movie being so like hopeless and being like this is like so sad. Not only are like and again, I knew they were bringing back Ian Holm. That was a rumor for a while. It was pretty much confirmed. Like I knew people saw it. I knew that was happening. You see it, and it's like this is the way worse than I ever thought they would do it. And then they start like saying the lines out loud from the old movies. They're just like, and it's like, oh, you have these young actors, these great young actors. You have this seemingly really talented director, and it's like the studio machine, and it's like this like it feels like I'm watching one of those Star Wars shows at times, and it's like,
yeah,
oh man, dude,
this
and it's
movie
like,
reminded me of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show a little bit.
oh,
oh
That's
god,
not what you want to be reminded of when you're watching
and
a
it's like
fucking
then
alien movie.
that the whole Victor Wembanyama baby thing at the end, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. And like, there's parts of it that I like, and I like Andy, and then I like the kind of scene where there's like the acid and the floating acid stuff. And I'm like, okay, some of these are interesting. I'm like, actually, in the movie, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, I like this, and I don't like that. And that's that kind of my experience when watching the movie. And I leave the movie, and I'm like, what? Okay, like it's just a kind of like that was the new Alien movie, right? It's like that's the new Alien movie, and it's like, and if I wasn't so like upset about it, it's like okay, I would forget about it. It's like it's such a forgettable movie.
Forget
it's
about
like,
it.
It's like I'm the only reason I'm still thinking about it is 'cause it's like upsetting that this is like the new Alien movie, that this is like what we're getting. But otherwise, it's like oh, like it's so nothing. It's such a nothing movie.
If the Ian Holm thing was handled completely differently, like ground up differently, and if characters weren't just saying literally lines that are in the other movies, right? This probably would have been like a 2.5 star for me, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely
fair.
loses. I think it's
Um,
like there's some stuff I like. It's that stuff's really bad. But
Yeah.
it also it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean that like
what
that
it's
stuff
like,
is
what
just
are we
so
doing?
bad that it's like you can't even like, it's hard to even
Yeah,
talk
and
about the good
I
stuff
don't know.
sometimes.
It's
right.
but it's again, it's like I don't know. I don't know what we're. It's like, what's the point, right? It just feels like we're
Yeah.
repackaging Alien in like the best ways possible, like the hits. We're doing the hits. And it's a new Alien movie, and like we're just selling you with this, right? We're just selling you this Alien movie, and it's like, yes, these movies are like these big, expensive, like blockbuster movies, and there's like a franchise that's been on for decades. But they used to kind of be these weird kind of things where like they're gonna let this director do some weird thing. And it's like it's still in the Alien franchise, and it's kind of this like weird, pop piece of art. And it's like this movie is not art in any way. It's like such a fucking
It's not.
corporate like little
Yeah.
thing. And it's like the other movies, Resurrections, it's good or bad, right? Doesn't matter. It's like it's something. Somebody made this. People made this. People came together and made this, and it's like it's some sort of creation. And this feels such like this is the most corporate movie, and it's so disheartening. It's
No.
so upsetting.
Yeah.
It is
And it's like,
truly it's the same. It is
oh,
there's like really nothing different from this Ghostbusters Afterlife and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
It's all the same
This guy
fucking
loves
shit.
Ghostbusters Afterlife,
No,
by the way.
because that is a
No, no, I
universally
know,
hated
I
movie
know,
that
I
nobody
know.
brings up. And that movie
yeah, 'cause no one
sucks.
saw
Yeah.
that movie.
Fucking stinks.
Leads into my follow-up question that I know the answer to, but I'm asking for like good podcasting purposes. Is there
Good
is there a
podcaster here.
world in which the sequel to this is a good movie?
No.
Oh, I have this theory. I told Ellen this.
You did?
I think there's gonna be a sequel to this movie probably, and I think there's gonna be a big reveal that the Kaylee Spaney character is Ripley's daughter,
Oh,
and then I'm gonna kill
I've
myself
heard,
in the
Oh.
theater.
I've heard this theory
Oh.
floated out, and
what if she's a Ripley
and
clone? And like she
yeah.
grows up into piece of
What if she's grown up Newt's clone?
Dude, it's not even. This is before Alien.
This is before Newt's born.
Yeah, but they don't care about that because they literally do a thing from
what if
Alien
she's
Yes.
David's
in the
daughter?
movie, so
What
they
if
don't
she's
give a fuck
David's
about
daughter?
that.
Can David reproduce? Probably not. No.
No, I don't think so.
He's an
no.
artificial person.
Yeah.
Oh, they do that. They do that line. They're
um,
like, "I prefer artificial person."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the
That's
worst
also no.
ones,
That's what I mean.
too.
They're just quote.
Yeah.
They're literally just
Oh, it's
quoting
so
lines
bad.
from
'Cause,
other
like,
movies.
where did he get that from? Where the fuck did he get that
Yeah.
from?
So
Lance
okay,
Bishop hasn't even said that shit yet.
yeah.
He's
Bishop
never
hasn't
said
even
it
said
before.
that.
How did he fucking do that shit? That means
Be-
Bishop is quoting Andy in Aliens.
That,
That
well,
shit's crazy.
That's also with the get away from her, you bitch thing.
Oh, it's so bad.
Listen, this guy's a very talented actor. It's a good performance in this movie. That is like a all-time bad line reading. It's like an all-time
Well,
bad
it
line
has that
reading.
like Marvel like wait for a fucking like cheer
Yeah.
thing. It's like so.
But that
awkward.
can't be his fault.
No,
Like,
it's the
that had
fucking
to-
line's
That had
fault.
to
Yeah,
be
of
given.
course.
Yeah, that had to be given.
No, I'm
to
not
him
blaming
that
It's his.
way.
him.
I mean, but like he's the one that says it. It's like
Yeah.
he didn't
Sure,
want to
yeah.
say it probably, but
Yeah.
But that's
Um,
the thing is like, I don't. There's just no sequel here.
he's like, get away from
Yeah.
her, you bitch.
That's why. Why does he say it like that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's like a little scared bitch.
I wonder if that's like part of his like the I guess like programming.
Why is
thing
this
when he
robot
has
have
his, like-
anxiety, bro? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Or maybe, well, I don't know.
That's
I
such
was
a
thinking
poorly
maybe
programmed robot.
maybe he like is like scared to say like bad words because he's just like a robot that tells dad jokes the whole time or something.
This
So
is, like,
I
the
thought it was
worst
like part of
programmed
his
robot
like
ever.
yeah.
No,
well, that's
but
like part
so-
of the character is that he
so
is a
my
badly
thing-
programmed robot.
It's so shitty. My thing is like I don't know what the point. I guess I don't know. There's no point in this movie, so there's no point of a sequel, and it makes
Yeah.
no sense of like the only reason is like how
But
can
there
we
probably
milk
will
this
be.
fucking friend? They're going to be because it made $1 billion. It didn't make $1 billion, but
Yeah,
it's made a lot of money.
We're
so
actually
far.
going to talk about movies that made $1
but
billion. in a bit.
like it's so ass. Like what the fuck are they gonna?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like, it's like the next one will be a little better because like there's nothing else to do, right? There's nothing else to copy. You're like you copy Alien 3 is you're fucking bald Kaylee Spaney. Like it's like
I would welcome that if that's all they copy. It's like
Yeah.
but it's like I don't know. The only case of like the next one being better is like if they can't copy shit no more, and they have
Yeah.
to make their own movie. But it's like it feels like an endless cash grab like thing, and it's like I don't know, dude.
Yeah, not in a great
So
spot.
it's so
Before we
upsetting.
rank the movies, do you guys want to rank your favorite androids? Because there's like
Oh,
one per
I don't know if
movie.
I have a real
Just
ranking.
like off the dome, off the dome. What's your
okay.
ranking of the
I don't know.
androids?
Wait, fuck. Okay, well,
Yeah,
number
can
one,
you give me all their names so I
yeah,
have them in my
Doug.
brain?
Ash, Bishop. There's not one in
He's in,
Alien 3. Then it's Call,
it's yeah.
um, David, Walter, Andy.
Okay.
That's all of them.
Well,
Oh,
it's tough because like
and Rook if you want, I guess.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know how I'd rank those. I mean, the David Walter duo has to be pretty
they're on
high.
top.
Yeah.
They gotta be on top.
And then I will say, see, the thing is that like what's his name? Andy is
It's
my
like
favorite part of this new movie,
Mhm.
but it's my least favorite of the movies. So like I don't know how I stack that
see,
up.
like
I'm
it's
like
like
I do
the
really like
funny
him in this
thing
movie, but
about
like does
Ian
that make him
Holm.
better than the other
The funny
ones?
thing about Ian Holm coming back is like he's evil. Like, I don't fucking like that dude in that movie. Like I don't. He's like
Yeah,
trying to
he's
like he like
the
puts that
bad
thing
guy
in.
in the
He's like
first
I don't
movie.
like
Yeah.
him, bro. Like get him away from me.
Yeah.
Like Bishop is like whatever. It's like I honestly I like Andy. I like Walter and David, and it's like Ian Holm is in a good movie.
True.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you
That's I
know,
mean that's
it's
probably exactly what I would say.
it's
Yeah.
and then it's like yeah, Bishop's cool. I like Winona Ryder. It's like Call is
That's true.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
don't think the character is that great. I don't think I'd
no.
rank her that high, but I
I
like that
probably
she's
put
there.
yeah, I think it's cool because I was like actually because I didn't see Resurrections until after Romulus, and I was like all the synthetics have been played by male characters that I've seen. I'm like, is that like a like what's the reasoning for that?
Yeah.
I was like,
And then it's
they
not.
should do
Yeah.
that. They should do that sometime.
Owen thought he had like an original idea for the
I
franchise
was like,
just to go
why
back and
haven't they
watch
done
the
that before? Like,
25-year-old movie and be like, ah, fuck.
is there a reason like they haven't done this before? And then when Winona Ryder does like a little like, then she's like milk coming out of her.
What? Huh?
That's
Yeah,
what she
he
does.
mentioned that, but no, he mentioned the
And-
milk already.
And then I was like, oh, and then she like is like a fake. She's like fake.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get to news, let's rank some Alien movies. We've got 7 of them. Do we want to go like our number set, like the way we usually rank things, where it's like one at a time, we go in a circle, or do we want to just list them off?
I don't know.
I think
All 3 of our lists are going to be so different.
I think we should just list them off because
I say we just
we've
list them
already
off.
talked about all of them
About how much we
individually.
like all of them.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're gonna
Um,
stop and be like, okay, let's talk about Alien
True,
3 now
exactly.
that Doug has.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
It should-
Yeah.
We should just like
Okay.
you go and then
So my ranking is Romulus in last,
Oh,
Resurrection in second to last, and then my top 5. There's like 2 pairs of movies that could flip flop. So my 5-4 is Aliens, Alien 3, which could flip flop either way. And then my 3-2 is Prometheus, then Covenant number 2, which could also flip flop either way. I feel like I could watch Prometheus
Me and
again
Kevin's
tomorrow and then
like
bump that up
so
to number 2.
similar.
And then number 1 is Alien, obviously. Douglas, what's your 7
okay.
or your whole list? But the 7.
At number 9, I have AVP Requiem.
Okay, you're including. Okay.
It has to be
Okay.
said.
That one's the last one. Is that one's really bad? Huh?
Yeah, that one's like the really
It's
bad
really
one. Right?
Owen's
Yeah.
ass is gonna watch that and like it, but it's really bad, bro. It's like fucking
Yeah.
really bad.
What do you?
Um,
Is like half star shit?
No, it's like 1. It's I think I gave it the same rating actually as
Oh, okay,
Romulus.
okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, AVP Requiem, and then Alien Romulus, and
Mhm.
then I think AVP, directed by Paul W. Sanderson, and then, Resurrection, then yeah, Resurrection, Covenant, Prometheus, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I think that's what it is for me.
It's funny because of how many people. I don't know. I think it's funny that you like poke fun at Owen for saying that he'll like it, because so much of like the way that people talk about Owen on the internet is like that, like, you know what I mean? Like they make him seem a certain way, and then on our own podcast we're just like, yeah, that's an Owen thing to do.
No,
Like
no, no.
it's
Owen's
just like,
normal. I was being silly.
no, I know, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm saying it's like funny that they think he like thinks of himself this way just for us to make it, like, poke fun at it anyway. You know, like it's like it's not different. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think people take it a little
Can I
too
rank my
seriously.
movies
Anyway,
now?
yeah. Owen, what are your movies? Sorry, I didn't mean to
Alright.
embarrass you like that.
Okay. Oh fuck. I think I'd cry once a podcast. Or at 7th place.
Try after the podcast. I save it for when we're done recording.
Okay. Alien Romulus 2024 is my least favorite Alien movie. In 6th place, I have Alien Resurrection. Then I have Aliens and Alien 3.
Oh, we got like the same list.
No, I know we do. And then I have Prometheus, which honestly I could go back and forth, but then I have Alien and then I have Alien Covenant. So me and Kevin are like just switched on
That's
those.
We have the same
crazy.
list, but our 1 and 2 is flipped.
That's
yeah.
nuts.
I
Because you guys
I
don't
was
have
like,
normal lists in terms of like the popular opinion.
I could
Right,
switch.
yeah.
I was thinking about it. I was like, I could put Prometheus, because Prometheus and Covenant, like, so that's like me.
Prometheus could be like my number 1 on another day.
And
if
I was
watched
thinking
it
about like,
enough
but
times.
Alien is also like, it just has that like kind of classicness to it. That's like, it edges a little bit over it. But I could, it's like Prometheus and Covenant. If I'm putting one on, it might be one of those. But also Alien is just like Alien.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I don't think I emphasized at the beginning how much I think Alien is kind of actually a perfect movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's my number 1, and I think it's, at least right now. The thing is it's the only movie I've seen more than once. So like, who's to say how my opinion will change over time? But at least right now, I think it's like the best one by a significant
I
margin.
rewatched
Like,
most of
Alien is
these,
just
and I was
kind of
like, yep, that's how I felt about it last time.
I've seen
Yeah.
all of these movies more than once, and I've listened to the audio commentary, like the director's commentary.
Yeah, you guys did. Yeah,
all
you
of
guys
these
did
movies.
some hardcore prep, which is why now finally we're done talking about aliens, and we move on to the news. You know the deal. We're gonna talk about news, but of course, share some feedback, like, comment, subscribe.
Drop your
follow us
alien
on-
ranking in the
on
comments
all
below.
our- yeah,
and
put your
comment
alien
that
ranking
little
in the
like
comments.
comment that little alien emoji guy.
Yeah, there
Alien
you go.
ranking in the comments.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then do a separate comment and then alien face. Emoji.
Tell us how you felt about
Just
Alien
spam
Romulus
up.
while you're at it.
Spam them up.
Give us your Alien Romulus review.
Wait, actually, for bonus, synthetic ranking too. That shit.
Yeah, synthetic
I'm actually
ranking
interested in that
the
because
comments. Give us a little 5-star or just a positive review on any of the apps.
Make sure you're
And follow our
subscribed.
social media.
And
Yeah,
make sure you put
subscribe.
Notifications on Spotify and on YouTube.
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
No,
That's a
no, no,
little
no, no,
much.
no,
It'll
no,
it'll
no.
pop
You-
up
you
in your
should,
feed.
you should.
You'll find
No,
your
no, no.
way,
You should put
know?
notifications on.
Okay. Yeah, click the bell. Okay. We got lots of news, and our first piece of news starts with a little mini game that I've made, but it's not really a mini game.
shit.
It's more just like trivia. It's
Wait,
just
they
a little
should
piece
get
of trivia. There's not
Jenna
much game
Ortega
involved.
should play a synthetic.
Yeah, that's
okay.
actually. I mean, I don't want them to make more movies, but yeah, that would be cool.
In the movie that I'm making that's separate from Disney.
you're
it's
making,
it's a
yeah.
secret movie, and it's like a George Lucas.
It's
experimental
it's
film.
not going to be.
You're gonna
named
make a
as
like a
Alien.
private movie with Jenna
It's an
Ortega that
alien.
only you
It's
see.
like $100
Yeah.
million Jenna.
Yeah,
not that.
buddy. There's a million other Americans that also
Oh,
American boys that
fuck.
also want to do that, buddy.
No. No.
Okay. Deadpool and Wolverine has become the
Oh.
highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, surpassing Joker. Can you name the next 8
Damn,
movies in the top
I knew
10?
Joker.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the
Wait,
next numbers
R-rated
3
movie?
to 10 and the high. Yeah. So I think previously on the podcast I made you guys name the top 10 highest grossing movies. Period. But I don't think we've done R-rated unless somebody in the comments wants to correct me. So top 10 highest grossing
Fuck, what's that
R-rated
movie
movies. You
called?
know that number 1 and 2 are Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, what's that
and
movie
Joker.
called?
Which one?
Can't ask you.
I will give you one hint.
Fuck, what is it
just
called?
just to start, the hardest movie to get on here, and maybe you might not even be able to get it unless Doug gets it.
What's it
Is
called?
there's one movie on here that is not a Hollywood film. It's from another country. It's from China. I'll just say it's a Chinese movie.
Okay.
What the
That's
fuck?
gonna be the hardest one to get. I will be honest. The rest of these are kind of really obvious if you
Is
think
the
about it a little bit.
Chinese movie Wolf Warrior 2?
It is not.
Fuck.
Oh,
I
you
thought I binked
stink.
that.
I'll
Fuck,
give
fuck.
I'll
Okay.
give hints as we
I'm
go, but I'm
thinking.
gonna let you try to pick
What's
some
it
off
called?
first.
Um,
And the other hint I'll give:
This is ridiculous.
almost all of these are pretty new movies.
pretty new. Okay.
The oldest movie. There's 2 movies here that came out early 2000s.
Oh my
Everything
God.
else came out.
I can't think
very
of the
recently.
title of the movie.
Like the rest of these came out.
This
Pretty
is tough
recently.
because I don't. Now that I'm a grown up, I don't have to think about the ratings of movies anymore because I
Yes.
can just go see an R-rated movie in theaters now. So I just like I don't like is Alien Romulus R or PG-13? I don't even know.
It's
No,
R. Well,
okay.
that's what
That shit is
somebody
R.
asked me that today, and I was like, well, when you think about it, I don't think they'd be allowed to do that birth scene in a PG-13 movie.
Okay. Oh wait, is Oppenheimer?
Correct. That's number 3.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
But dude, what is that shit called?
Okay.
So you've got Deadpool and Wolverine, Joker, and Oppenheimer.
I'm focusing on one movie, and then I'm never gonna get it.
Okay,
And
let
it's
me
not even
think.
on the list.
Deadpool, Wolverine, Joker, Oppenheimer.
Yo, what about Deadpool 2?
That is on the list.
Oh, shit.
Number 4.
Let's go. What about Deadpool 1?
That is on the list. Number
Oh
5.
no, I should have jumped in there.
You've got the top 5.
Damn.
You've got Deadpool and Wolverine, and Deadpool 3 are all in
Oh,
the top 5.
Hangover.
Not on there. I will say there's another movie on here, not Deadpool related, that is part
Logan.
of a
It's Logan.
franchise. A big actually, there's 2 more franchise movies. Logan is one of them.
Okay.
That's number 9.
Hangover 2.
I guess the other movie, is this a franchise thing? I don't know. Like, I don't know what quantifies or like what
can't
makes a
tell us.
franchise, because it's like it's just like it's
uh,
like part of a. Anyway, we'll get there when we get there. There's another movie that is part of a franchise. I know it's part of a franchise, and it's a franchise that you
R-rated
both.
franchise.
It's a franchise that you both really like.
What?
Like really like.
What? What's
Like
R-rated? Bro?
up there. I imagine with one of. I would guess this is one of your favorite franchises.
Wait, can you tell me how much money it made?
That's a good hint.
I don't have the numbers pulled up, but I believe it was like somewhere around 700 million or
That's a lot of
650
money. That's a
million.
lot of
That's
money,
a lot
Doug.
of money. Is it?
And it's not the first movie in the franchise. It's a sequel. It's the only movie in this
Mad
franchise
Max
on
Fury
the list.
Road.
No.
No.
That movie didn't make that much money.
I don't know. I was thinking of movies. Is
I
that
don't know.
rated R?
It made 741 billion or million. Sorry, not
Whoa.
billion. It made 741 million.
Okay. Like what
And
movies
it's,
do you like
and, it's
that rated
part
R?
of and it's part of a franchise that you really like.
I don't know. Well, I was thinking like John Wick. It's not John Wick though.
It is not a
Wait,
John
wait,
Wick
wait,
movie.
wait. The
But
It movie.
Oh,
that is on there.
Yeah,
It is on there. That's the one I was asking. Like, is that like franchise? I guess because it's like it's just a 2-parter of a.
It's like an IP.
movie.
I should have thought of it. Shout
is
out Gary
IP though.
Doberman. Shout out Gary Doberman.
Yeah.
Um,
So far you've got.
I was thinking of
Deadpool,
like
Wolverine,
R movies.
Joker,
it's
Oppenheimer.
oh, that's not rated R. Sorry. I was
Fair
saying
enough.
Batman.
So you got the top 3. You got 2 more Deadpool movies on the list. You got It at number 7,
Okay.
Logan at number 9,
yeah.
and you have 3 movies remaining. Number 6 is the franchise movie that I'm referring to. Number 8 is the Chinese movie that I'm referring
I'm
to
not
that you
getting that,
probably won't
so.
get. I could just give that one away if you guys want. If you
No,
don't
no,
give
no.
it any thought. I mean, that's going to be like a.
I mean, let's get the other ones first.
And then number 10 is definitely not a franchise movie. I don't know if you guys are in the right headspace to get number 10. You got to think of our great directors making a movie about
Schindler's List.
it's not IP, but it is about a person who exists historically.
Milk.
It's Milk.
That was
What?
a good guess. No, that was a good guess. That was a good guess.
It's
I just thought-
about a very
I just,
historically significant person. And
Lincoln.
it's directed by-
Lincoln.
oh,
It's not Lincoln.
Oh,
It's
he
not
said that at the same
Lincoln. But it's directed by one of the great living director, one of the greatest directors in history.
Sorry. Okay. You're kind of throwing too much at us. I need to take this one at a time.
I know. I need to because I want you
Doug,
guys to be
focus on the
thinking in multiple
Chinese movies.
spaces at once.
Focus on the
focus on the
Chinese
Chinese.
Yeah, Doug, focus on the Chinese movie. Owen, focus on the American one.
Guy made a movie about a man.
I'm kind of shocked you haven't gotten the
Social
franchise.
Network.
It's not The Social Network, no.
That's a
But you're
guy.
kind of no, you're not. I was gonna say you're kind of in the right
Steve
headspace,
Jobs.
but it's
Steve
not
Jobs.
even close.
Steve
It's
Jobs.
not. I shouldn't say it's nowhere close to The Social Network. When you
Oh.
hear what it is, you're gonna be like, "Why did I say
Are
that?"
you sure it's Chinese?
Say the name of it.
When I looked up the movie and read the description, the very quick, I didn't like research the background on the movie, but when I looked at the movie on Wikipedia, it said this is a Chinese film from whatever. So
okay, because I
I'm
was thinking
assuming
like
it's Chinese.
I was like, oh, maybe it's Train to Busan, but that's South Korean. But I was trying to think
it's
of
not.
I was trying to think of
Train
like
Busan.
really really popular.
I will say the Chinese movie. I don't know if this gives it away. The Chinese movie is the third movie in a franchise.
Oh,
It has the number 3 at the end of it.
oh, is it Ip Man 3?
No.
Is it Wandering Earth?
Nope.
Is it Oh, is it no, that's only 2 movies. Wait, I feel like I can get this.
Yeah, while you do that, Owen, number 6, franchise that you guys really like.
This is what?
Like you guys really like this franchise.
Really?
I'll say this. The first movie in this franchise is like stone cold masterpiece, like one of the best movies ever made. Like up there, like it's same conversation as Alien. Like you're talking about like one of the you both think this is one of the greatest movies ever made.
What?
Like no doubt in my mind, you guys think this
It's
is
a
one of the best
sequel?
movies.
Oh,
ever.
is it Terminator
And it is a
2?
sequel to that movie.
I don't
It's
like that
not
shit.
Terminator 2. No, it is a sequel to one of the greatest movies ever.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
It's not rated R.
No. That would be number 1 on the list.
I don't know.
I'm like, maybe it's just because you guys aren't thinking in this headspace, but like in my head, I'm just like, I'm shocked that you guys aren't thinking about this one.
What's R?
It's
no.
what?
No.
Oh,
Don't say it.
I'm not saying the name of it. I was about to try to like think of another hint. I'm trying to think of a hint that won't just give it away immediately because of how obvious it is.
Hold on, wait. Is it genre? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's like an action thing?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no. I mean, come on.
Action movie. It's one of the Matrix movies. The third one.
It's
Matrix
Matrix Reloaded.
Revolution.
It is the Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so that was also always in my mind. I was like, those didn't make that much money. I was like, they made 400 million or something.
I would have never guessed that.
Matrix Reloaded made $740 million.
Because that being rated
like,
R
oh,
doesn't
they
make
didn't
any
make
sense to
enough.
me.
Damn it! I should have said all of them. But
yeah. Okay, so you've got the top 7,
who's the guy?
And you've got number 9. You have number 8, like I said, the Chinese movie, and then number 10.
Guy.
The number 10 is an R-rated movie directed by one of our great living directors about a very famous historical person. But when I say very famous historical person, you might not be thinking of them in the right headspace.
It's Wolf of Wall Street. It's Wolf of Wall Street.
No, think ancient. Like I think like old ass.
Oh, it's Gladiator. It's Gladiator.
It's not Gladiator.
What?
I'm trying to give you the right hints, but this is
The Passion of Christ.
It's the Passion of the Christ. Yeah.
Bro, Mel Gibson is not one of the. You're crazy, bro. You're crazy, bro. It's
number 8. Do you want me to give it away? It's the Chinese movie. We should just move on.
Okay. What is it?
It's Detective Chinatown 3.
Oh.
Did Polanski do that one?
I've heard. Yeah, I know about Detective Chinatown.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I just assumed because it was such a big one that Doug might get it, because I thought when I said like big Chinese blockbuster, you might be like thinking in that headspace.
Well, no, it's tough. Yeah. Okay, that was a fun game.
I think I won.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have normal news to follow that up. I only put that one first because it came with the game, but normal news. Dominic Sessa is in talks to play Chef Anthony Bourdain in a biopic with A24, negotiations to acquire the project, and Matt Johnson set to direct. I kind of like this.
I didn't see Blackberry, so I don't really have a
I like don't love Blackberry the way that a lot of other people did, but like when I watched Blackberry, at the very least, I was like, this is a guy who knows how to make movies. I just like I'm not like into movies about that. Like that's not really my jam. Is like movies about tech or like
It's just
finance
weird that
pros
he's
or
doing
whatever.
another. He's like, okay, another. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll do Passion of the Christ again after this. I'll just keep doing the biopics.
No, I don't know. I'm like, it's. I don't know if the Anthony Bourdain thing makes sense, but I'm like, that's an interesting subject, and the thing that's interesting about it, I guess, is that at least with Matt Johnson directing it, it's not going to be like a birth to death, like boring by the numbers biopic. Like it's gonna at
Yeah, it's
least
not gonna
like
be Bohemian
and
Rhapsody.
Yeah,
and he's
no,
like
it's gonna be
taking a
like
real life person that is
angsty, like
yeah, and he's picking a real life person to do like to take that in an interesting direction with. Like it's not like a Anthony Bourdain will be, and it's Dominic Sessa in like
Yeah.
what will likely be just more of a jumping off point for him to become a major star. Um, so I'm interested. I don't know. We'll have to like find
I'll
out
have to
more. But,
see.
yeah, but like on paper, it sounds like this is the most exciting piece of biopic news we've probably gotten since Bohemian Rhapsody came out.
I mean, Timothy Chalamet is playing Bob Dylan, but
Sure, yeah. I didn't realize you were excited for that.
I gotta
Okay.
be. I guess I don't know.
Interesting.
I'll be there. Opening, maybe not opening. It's coming out Christmas, but
I think
I'll be
that
there.
we should, for that podcast, we should listen to every Bob Dylan album and do like a collaborative ranking of every Bob Dylan album.
We should rank every song he's ever made.
Yeah, every single song even.
That's an idea. We'll return to that, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of biopics, Nicolas Cage will play John Madden, the storied former football coach and sports commentator, in a drama from David O. Russell.
Oh, from David O. Russell.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oop. Not sure why that guy's still making movies. Well, I know why he's still making movies, but
Nick
yeah,
Cage
that's
think
gonna
this is
suck.
his Oscar moment?
That's got to be the idea when anybody's signing up for a biopic, I would think, is like, if I do this,
Dude,
if I play a
the
real
Oscar
person,
Nick Cage one from the
share.
Madden movie sounds sick. That's awesome. Man.
Yeah, this movie's probably gonna suck, but I feel like a number of people are probably excited for it, especially if they don't know anything about David O. Russell and they're just thinking of a John Madden biopic who is like.
I mean, the people going to the Madden biopic probably don't care about what David O. Russell
did. Yeah,
true. Yeah, there's not that Venn diagram is like there's nothing there. Yeah, good point. Yeah, not excited for that.
It's a weird thing to be like, we're gonna make a movie about the guy, but also the game that like they aren't the same thing. Like it's like John Madden is like, legendary coach, and then there's also the game. It's like they go together, but not like.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a stupid idea for a movie.
I don't know. James Wan and talks to direct a Creature from the Black Lagoon remake.
Okay, what the fuck is this like dude's deal? James Wan. What do you mean? He's and talks to direct another movie. What about the Cthulhu movie, buddy? What's going on with that? What do you mean you're in talks to make a?
Are you addressing James Wan directly?
Yes, James Wan.
Pod?
My close personal friend James Wan, one of the greatest genre filmmakers ever. Are you not doing the Call of Cthulhu movie? Are you not doing the Cthulhu Mythos movie? Because that sucks if you're not. That sucks. What is this? This would be good too, though.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be awesome.
This would be good too.
I hope both of them get made.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope the Wolfman and the Invisible Man and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, they hang out sometime.
Mm-hmm.
You like that Invisible Man movie that Leigh Whannell did, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like it as well.
I thought it was cool. It was a fun COVID movie.
It was a movie that I was like.
It was the last movie before COVID happened.
I was really skeptical about it because I love those old movies so much, and I was like, well, this isn't like that, so I never watched it. But then they did these Blumhouse like re-releases, and I was like, oh, that's like a really well-made horror movie. It's not like my favorite thing ever, but it's also like that movie makes me like, oh, the Wolfman, gonna eat that up. That's gonna be awesome, and that comes out, in a few months.
What if the Wolfman movie is about a guy who makes a wolf Iron Man suit, and he gets into that every night. And
Next piece of news.
That would suck.
Renate Ransva, Elle Fanning, Stellan Skarsgård, and Inga Ibsdottir Lilius to star in Sentimental
he's just a
Value,
furry?
Joachim Trier's follow-up to The Worst Person
she's
in
a
the World.
fursuit.
Wait, what were you saying?
It's Joachim Trier's follow-up to The Worst Person in the World.
Is it a
and
sequel,
Oh,
or is
my
it just his
favorite
next
movie.
Fanning is
movie?
going to be in it.
My favorite movie.
I believe it's just his next movie.
Is
I
this
love
really?
Elle
Has he
Fanning.
not made anything since The Worst Person in the World?
I guess not.
That's crazy.
It is The Worst Person in the World is part of a trilogy as well. And I've seen one of the other movies in it, Oslo, August 31st, which I also like. Did you guys like The Worst Person in the World? I don't think anyone watched it, but Doug, did you like it?
I didn't see it.
I was a kind of a young cinephile when I saw this in theaters, and I did like it. I thought that maybe, I don't even know if I want to get too much into the weeds for it because people will get offended if I say the wrong thing. But
Yeah.
I think
So
that the
okay.
politics of the movie maybe
yeah.
come across a little annoying.
This is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say.
But I remember
I
liking
don't
it.
think that the Oslo movie is
Kill
much
Doug in the
in that
comments
regard,
below.
but I think he's an interesting filmmaker. I do kind of like. I don't know. I'd be curious to watch more. I thought the Oslo movie was interesting. I would definitely watch whatever he makes next. It is kind of weird.
Penguin guy.
No. Maybe
Maybe
I don't even know.
Oswald.
That's Oswald. Yeah, that's an octopus though. Oswald is an octopus, so I'm not really sure what that has
What's-
to do with
What's
penguins.
that
But
from?
Oswald is a cartoon octopus. I loved Oswald as a kid, but that's totally irrelevant to what we're talking about.
No, where is that?
Speaking of Kaylee Spaney, confirms that she will star alongside Charles Melton, Oscar Isaac, and Carey Mulligan in Beef season 2.
Oh, the beef
I
guy. He's making Thunderbolts.
I
So is Beef
watched
season 2 a
Beef
different
season
person?
1. Did you watch Beef season 1, Kevin?
I watched 2 episodes of it.
I didn't watch anything.
It's only 4 episodes.
It's like 8 episodes. It's
Oh.
like a lot.
No,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I watched
got
it-
bored.
I
I'm
watched it
sorry.
with-
I thought the central premise was interesting, and then I got to the second episode, and I was like, I kind of don't care about where this goes. Actually,
I watched it with my sister in like 2 sittings. It was
Damn.
cool. Yeah, we
Yeah.
kind of binged
I'd be-
it. It was cool. I mean, it's like whatever. It's like a mini series, but the
Yeah, I
idea
mean,
of a
I might binge it
sequel
before
is
the second
so
season.
boring. Did you say Anne Hathaway's in it, or did I hear you wrong?
No, so it's Kaylee Spaney, Charles Melton, Oscar Isaac, and Carey Mulligan.
Whoa,
Oh,
It's like star stuff. I mean, those are
That's
4 great people
crazy.
for it.
that's
yeah.
crazy.
But
Oh,
the
the
first
be-
season was a hit.
oh,
I
the
mean, it
Emerald
made sense
Fennel of
to-
All Stars. Dude.
Listen,
Jeez.
listen, I'll watch it.
It's crazy to bring up Emerald Fennel. Like those people aren't in like just a number of amazing
Sorry.
movies.
Sorry.
Last piece of news. James Cameron says that the scripts for Avatar 4 and 5 are already written and that he plans to direct them. His quote, "They're going to have to stop me. I got plenty of energy. Love doing what I'm doing. Why would I not? If I get hit by a bus and I'm in an iron lung, somebody else is going to do it." I know you guys talked about Avatar 3 last week.
Just a little.
But I assume that I think this part of the news came out like the day after you guys talked about it.
Yeah.
So I don't think you mentioned this.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I don't know. He says he says 4 and 5 are written and that he wants to direct them. So
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned the bus.
He already has
yeah.
shot stuff for 4, confirmed.
Yeah.
which rocks.
Yeah, there's already been footage that has been shot that's going to go.
Well,
into
because
4.
what's her name?
Michelle Yeoh
Michelle Yeoh
was cast
Yeah.
like years
like
ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like she's not going to be in the 3rd movie, but she will be in the 4th movie. It's like,
Which is
oh, crazy.
ridiculous.
No,
That-
I mean,
that's crazy.
listen, it's the best blockbuster series already, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
That's our last piece of news. We're gonna wrap up there. I saved it for the end of the episode so that there would be less embarrassment because I figured less people are gonna be watching the little outro. I for sure did that thing where I confused the Passion of the Christ with the Last Temptation of Christ, which is why I said it was one of our great
I
directors.
was like,
My bad,
Mel
Martin
Gibson
Scorsese. You are
is
not Mel
crazy.
Gibson. Things happen, okay? I make that mistake all the time, all right?
I
They both have Christ in the
no,
title.
dude, you should have kept
I'm
it. 'cause I was-
I'm surprised one of you didn't say anything
It was
about
a
it
good
after you
bit.
found out it was the
It was
Passion
a
of the
good
Christ. I
bit.
feel like you guys should have been like, "Oh, that's."
I thought you
weird,
were just
but
like
you
really
didn't.
No,
like,
I did. I
pro
was like
Mel
Mel Gibson. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I didn't think of it. Until you said like
Yeah.
really, really old.
Right. Would you have but I guess okay, never mind.
No, because
Anyway,
because the Last Temptation of Christ didn't make a fucking $1 trillion.
yeah, this is true. Yeah. But in my head they're like the same movie because I haven't watched either of them and they're both about Jesus and I'm just like I don't
Yeah, but
know. I don't
why?
know the
But
difference.
why? Like,
If I had watched both of them, I would know the difference between the titles. But because I haven't seen either, I just hear Christ in both of them and I just get them
and you're like
confused all the
Martin
time.
What are we
Scorsese.
talking about next
Um,
week on the podcast?
Next week, episode 81, we're talking about Blink Twice.
Jesus Christ.
The Zoe Kravitz directorial.
If anybody
debut.
else has some other ideas of what we can do next week, just drop
Oh,
those in
don't
the
worry.
comments.
We're going to get creative the week after. But next week, you're going to have to bear with us for Blink Twice. So we'll see you later.